Yeah, good evening everyone. So, did you guys revise after the last class? No? Yes? Okay. So, any doubts from the last class? So, this carbon border adjustment mechanism is proposed by European Union for their markets, right? So, and India is one of the largest exporters to European Union. So we export a large number of products, and if they impose something extra here, and definitely India's environmental laws are not as strict as European Union's. So what they see while checking the products, whenever they compare a product which is manufactured in Europe and a product which is manufactured in India, what they see, the actual cost of production and the extra cost which they had to incur because of the strict environmental laws. Okay, so strict pollution control norms or strict discharge of effluents है ना, so उसके लिए जितना एक्स्ट्रा खर्चा हुआ है वो यहाँ पर ऐड कर देंगे. They will just add that cost to Indian products, so that will increase the cost of these Indian products. So that will reduce the demand for Indian products, right? So that will be bad for Indian exports, right? So we have that advantage because it is cheaper. Why would the Europeans buy from us? Because it is cheaper, right? If it is of the same price, so then the people would prefer their own product, right? So exports may decrease and Indian trade may get impacted because of this. This is the concern. Because so their idea is they're thinking that if you increase the environmental laws, if you increase the overall conditions required for these environmental to control the pollution, so they're thinking that the industries from Europe will shift out. They will set up base in other countries. Okay, so but there are already so many industries which are already operating even before implementing this mechanism. So even they would get impacted, right? Right. So that is the issue. Anything else? Can you be louder? In which context? As per the present commitments in that emission gap report, right? So emission gap report says that, so for example, let's take India for example. India has committed that it will reduce so and so amount of emissions. Let's say 1000 units of emissions we are going to cut it off. And India has a target of achieving 1.5 degrees of global warming, matlab to limit the global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. India has committed 1000 units, but it is also saying that it wants to limit the global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. So this report will assess the overall India's growth, everything will see, and it will see whether this 1000 units cut is sufficient to limit the global warming by 1.5 degrees Celsius or not. And according to it, let's say in the place of 1000, it is required to cut 1500. There is a gap of 500 units. है ना? So that they put it in terms of proportion. As per the presently committed targets, how much more they have to commit in order to limit to 1.5 degrees Celsius or 2 degrees Celsius. Okay, that 47, 43, whatever the percentage which is given, that is as per the present commitments. They have to declare much more as compared to the present one, so that they will limit the global warming to 1.5 or 2 degrees Celsius. So today we'll discuss that. Today there is a topic on carbon credit and carbon trading. So we'll discuss that. So it will come up. So if I forget, you please remind me in that topic. Anything else? So rest all clear? Okay. So today let's start with the next topic. So after that adaptation gap report. So we'll finish this first unit completely and then we'll start with the third unit, biodiversity कर लेते है ना, otherwise बहुत factual हो जाएगा. So climate related, pollution related दोनों. Yeah. ठीक है. ठीक है. ठीक है. Thank you. So the next topic is carbon capture, utilization and storage. Okay, let me just give you some background to this topic. So this is in the context of carbon emissions. Okay, so carbon emissions, particularly the emissions of carbon. When we say carbon, it is commonly referred to carbon dioxide. Okay, so there are many different forms of carbon. So here in the context of global warming and climate change, the referred component is carbon dioxide. So when we say carbon emissions, it refers to the emissions of carbon dioxide mainly, and in a broader sense, in some more context, they also include methane. Okay, but carbon capture के context में we are talking about the capturing of carbon dioxide. So there's we have discussed in the last class about the overall issue of climate change and global warming, and the major contributing gas towards the global warming is carbon dioxide. Even though its potential is less, its overall proportion is very, very high. And overall proportion is very, very high. So there is a continuous release of carbon dioxide which is happening, and that we cannot stop. Right? I have told you. So the only solution is not to burn the hydrocarbons. Even if 100% efficiently you burn it, so it still releases carbon dioxide and water. Okay? So the only solution is not to burn it. So, but that is not possible immediately. We cannot stop burning the carbon hydrocarbons and the source of carbon dioxide. So वो तो continue रहेगा. So one of the best alternative for reducing the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere rather than just stopping it. Okay, so they are going the other way. So they will say आप burn कर लो, हम capture कर लेंगे. Okay, to capture it from the atmosphere. And then we'll do. Okay, we'll see something else. उसको क्या करना है वो देखते हैं. So it is basically seen as an alternative to not burning the fossil fuel itself, not burning the hydrocarbon itself. So, and it is also considered to be a good method for achieving net zero status. Net zero is based on this only, right? So rather than going for a status where there is no emissions at all, so here we will go for a status where the emissions are happening, and we will be able to capture it and store it, and keeping the overall amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere constant. So to enable all of this, we need a mechanism to capture the carbon. That is what is carbon capture. Okay, carbon emissions to hai. So all the industries at the global level and the agriculture emissions, vehicular emissions, everything is releasing the carbon dioxide, and that is which we cannot avoid, and that is why we are going for carbon capture. So its objectives to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions, to reduce the greenhouse gas effect, ओके, ग्रीन हाउस गैस एमिशंस तो होगा बट इफेक्ट कम होते जाएगा या इफेक्ट कांस्टेंट रहेगा. दैट इज व्हाट इज रिड्यूस द ग्रीन हाउस गैस इफेक्ट. एंड टू फाइट द ग्लोबल वार्मिंग एंड टू अचीव net zero status. Okay, with these objectives we are trying to move towards carbon capture methods, carbon capture technologies. So so what are the different methods of carbon capture? There are two major methods of carbon capture. One is the natural method. Second one is the artificial method, okay, which we also call it as the engineered method of carbon capture, right? So what are the natural methods of carbon capture? क्या है बताइए? Yes, at the oceans through phytoplanktons, and then oceans में phytoplanktons, ठीक है. Other than that, oceans में और कुछ method है? The ocean water itself is also capable of absorbing carbon dioxide, right? The ocean water itself is capable of absorbing. And then mangroves, very good. And then seagrass and the coastal wetlands, and on the land the forests, right? So these are the different methods to which we can capture the carbon from nature. Very cheap, है ना? So in fact no cost, naturally छोड़ दिया तो अपने आप capture करेगा. So then why are we not going for these methods? So of course we are going for these methods too, but this will take some time, and our impact on the environment has been so huge that many of them have degraded. Mangroves are degrading, है ना? So wetlands are degrading. Their capacity to absorb the carbon dioxide have decreased over a long period of time. So as an immediate alternative, we cannot go for many of these. So that's why we have many artificial methods. Artificial methods are like, there are many methods. Okay, so you might have heard about directly absorbing from the thermal power plants. Exhaust से पकड़ लो and carbon dioxide को separate कर लो, है ना? तो ये सब चीज़ें. So बहुत सारा ऐसे methods है. All these methods are classified into 3 types. So one is pre-combustion. Second one is post-combustion. Third one is oxy-fuel combustion. Pre-combustion, post-combustion and oxy-fuel combustion. So what do we do in pre-combustion? In pre-combustion, we will convert the fuel itself into hydrogen and carbon dioxide. Okay, that is what is the basic component, right? So fuel is processed to that an extent that we will convert just the fuel into hydrogen and carbon dioxide, and we'll use the hydrogen as fuel, and we'll separate the carbon dioxide, and we'll just capture it and store it before even burning the fuel. That is what is pre-combustion method. Okay, so these are just the ideas, and large scale implementation के लिए we need much more better advancement चाहिए. तो अभी implementation में नहीं है. So but ये तो कर तो सकते हैं. That is what is pre-combustion. Pre-combustion will separate the hydrogen and carbon dioxide initially itself, and hydrogen is used for the fuel, because hydrogen is non-polluting, है ना? तो energy भी अच्छे से आ जाएगा. Carbon dioxide will separate then only. Post-combustion क्या करेंगे? Post-combustion is when after burning, whatever the exhaust comes out, okay, after burning the exhaust comes out, in that we will capture the carbon dioxide. Okay, it is capturing carbon dioxide from the exhaust. That is post combustion. The issue with post combustion is that, so along with carbon dioxide, many other waste and gases, all of it are mixed. Okay, all of it is mixed up, and it is difficult to extract only carbon dioxide, and it makes it slightly expensive too. So because in normal combustion engines, what they use the air, okay, which is air available everywhere, so that is used for combustion, right? So that air, along with the carbon, along with the oxygen, it also has other gases that makes the higher impurities. So the third method banks on the combustion method using pure oxygen rather than open air. Okay, rather than open air, you just use pure oxygen, and if you use just pure oxygen to burn a fuel, in that whatever the output which comes, that is majorly made up of carbon dioxide and water, right? So that in that case it is easy to extract the carbon dioxide. That is what is oxy-fuel combustion. Oxy-fuel combustion relies on burning the fuel with pure oxygen, so that we can extract the carbon dioxide easily from the exhaust. Okay, so but from all the three processes, what we are doing, we are capturing the carbon dioxide. That is the main idea here. So that is what is called as carbon capture. Okay, rather than just releasing it into the atmosphere, we are trying to capture the carbon. So now comes the next part. So after capturing carbon, you have two options. One is carbon capture and storage. Okay, so capture करने के बाद में क्या कर सकते हैं? We can just store it. In that case, it becomes carbon capture and storage. So there is also another option for you, because carbon dioxide is used in various industries, various applications. It is used as input. So we will use as much as is required, and then we will store the rest of it, right? So that becomes carbon capture, utilization and storage. Either directly store करो, no need to use it, ठीक है? That becomes carbon capture and storage. So अभी जो लेटेस्ट आ रहे हैं, हर जगह में आ रहे हैं, तो इसको अगर ऐसे ही स्टोर करना है तो कुछ यूज़ है तो यूज़ ही कर ही लेते हैं ना. सो इससे तो कुछ फ़ायदा है. सो बहुत जगह में ये रॉ मटेरियल है ना. सो दैट मेथड बिकम्स कार्बन कैप्चर, यूटिलाइजेशन एंड स्टोरेज. सो दैट इज व्हाट इज कॉल्ड एज CCUS, carbon capture, utilization and storage. So this is the overall steps involved in carbon capture, utilization and storage. Okay, first, so in case of pre-combustion, so it is just a method where we process the fuel in such a manner that we will separate hydrogen and carbon dioxide initially itself before the combustion. Okay, we will process the fuel to produce hydrogen and carbon dioxide. We will separate the carbon dioxide before combustion itself, and we will use only hydrogen for burning, hydrogen for fuel purpose. So मतलब carbon dioxide is captured before the combustion itself in fuel, from the fuel. Okay, that is what is pre-combustion. ये सब तो methods है, अभी तो implementation में लेके आना है. So most of them, they are not working on pre-combustion, they are working on post-combustion and oxy-fuel. Expensive बना देगा, yes. You have to install separate oxygen cylinder, that makes it expensive, yes. Yes, there are few things, we'll talk about that. Post-combustion, carbon precipitators. ठीक है? So now, these are the different stages in CCUS. One is capture. So जो वही जो अभी बात किया प्री कंबशन या पोस्ट कंबशन और ऑक्सीफ्यूल कंबशन जो भी होगा, so capture करेंगे. So then after capturing, we have to transport. Okay, so we have to ensure that during the transportation it is not leaked, है ना? So that's why this is an important stage. So after transportation, you can directly use it for storage or utilization and storage. So in this case, utilization becomes 3 and whatever is left, that becomes storage. ठीक है? So now let's talk about utilization. कहाँ कहाँ पर utilize कर सकते हैं हम? Where can we use this carbon? Yes, fire extinguishers. Yes, beverages and various food, processed foods, है ना, food processing में use करते हैं, and various chemicals, है ना, carbon related chemicals, and then they also make it into some building material. Cooling agent, very good, cooling agent. और inflators, ठीक है, और agricultural products. Okay, agricultural products, raw materials like fertilizers. Okay, and ठीक है, यही मेजर इंडस्ट्री में जो कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड यूज होता है. ठीक है, in few of the cases they also use it as fuel. ओके, कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड को कन्वर्ट करके फिर फ्यूल भी बनाते हैं. सो स्टोरेज कैसे करेंगे? सो यूजुअली it is converted into so it is made to react with some of the minerals, okay, which is capable of absorbing this carbon dioxide, है ना. So some of the minerals which are capable of absorbing into carbon dioxide, उसको mineral form में convert करके then they just store it in the underground geological rock formations. ठीक है. So will it come out? ऐसे बाहर आने का chances है over a long period of time through the process of weathering. So this is what is carbon capture, utilization and storage. So अभी न्यूज़ में क्यों है? So because of two things. One is Niti Aayog. Okay, Niti Aayog has recently launched a policy framework, and it aims to deploy this. It aims to deploy this mechanism of carbon capture, utilization, storage throughout India, and of course it requires much of research and development, then only we will be able to implement this. Okay, it is also aiming to develop the R&D mechanism in this context. तो इसलिए ऐसे एक पॉलिसी बनाए हैं. पॉलिसी इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है but background is very important. Okay. So and it also aims to target some of the hard to cut industries. Okay, that means जो जिसका emissions अभी immediately cut कर ही नहीं सकते हैं. Okay, so there are certain basic industries which are very much required, essential for the growth of the country. For example, cement industry. Okay, it is highly polluting, but if you cut the cement production, definitely it will impact the construction industry, right? So ये सब तो cut नहीं कर सकते. Rather than that, we can install these carbon capture, utilization and storage mechanism over there. Okay, it is easier to bring it to net zero with that process. Okay, that is one. Second, so जो material में नहीं है, it is Norway. Norway recently ऐसा एक ऑफर दिया है सबको, ओपन ऑफर, जो भी कैप्चर कार्बन कैप्चर करके ट्रांसपोर्ट करके लेके आएंगे हम उसको स्टोर करेंगे. ओके, सो इट हैज सेड that whoever wants to capture the carbon and transport it and give it to us, we will store it basically. So along the North Sea's coast, they have to bring it, and there they will take it and they will store it. This is world's first open access carbon capture and storage facility. But in many of the cases, rather than installing the clean technology, rather than reducing the complete production, so this is better, right? So when the government is putting a cap on your emissions, total emissions, so this is kind of alternative. Yes, of course, the best solution is to reduce the emission itself. But in some cases, you may not be able to do for the short term, or you may not have the alternative technology available at all. So in that case, until we get this is the alternative. World's first open access carbon capture and storage infrastructure. Carbon sequestration. Carbon sequestration is a general term where carbon dioxide from the atmosphere is observed and stored. That is what is carbon sequestration. It is, we can say, carbon capture is a method of carbon sequestration. कार्बन कैप्चर में है ना, सो एक आर्टिफिशियल मैन मेड इनपुट का क्लियरली विजिबल है. दैट इज व्हाट इज कार्बन कैप्चर. वी आर डूइंग इट इंटेंशनली. जो नेचुरली होता है दैट इज यूजुअली रेफर टू एज कार्बन सिक्वेस्ट्रेशन. ठीक है. so one of the another initiative, okay, important initiative is mission innovation. याद है mission innovation कहाँ पर था? Yes, in the last class we discussed about biorefineries. So mission innovation is the international initiative. Okay, there are a total of 7 missions in that. One was biorefinery, another was carbon capture. उसमें भी एक mission है on carbon capture, utilization and storage, so which aims to make near zero carbon dioxide emission from power plants and carbon intensive industries. Okay, it targets the power plants and carbon intensive industry. Okay, तो वहाँ पर एक इमेज था, 7 मिशंस का एक इमेज था ना, उसमें एक कार्बन रिलेटेड था, देखो है, यस, दैट इज कार्बन कैप्चर ओनली. ठीक है, सो दैट इज वन थिंग विच यू हैव टू रिमेंबर. बाकी तो ठीक है, जस्ट एक बार गो थ्रू कर लेना. So any doubts here? Clear? Methods of absorption. Methods of capture. This is method of absorption and to hold that carbon dioxide in the solid form also. Okay. So let's move on to the next topic. Uniform carbon trading market. Yeah, this is one of the question asked 2018 का. Carbon fertilization refers to the same thing. Okay, it is increased plant growth due to increased concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. ठीक है. So next, uniform carbon trading market. So again we'll give you some basics, background. Okay, let's start with what is carbon credit. So carbon credit, one carbon credit is equal to 1 ton of carbon dioxide. Okay, so this is the standards at the international level. One carbon credit means 1 ton of carbon dioxide. So why are we counting the carbon dioxide in terms of this weightage या carbon credits को क्यों रख रहे हैं? So because after we got to know that the carbon dioxide is causing the global warming and the huge amount of greenhouse gases which is causing the global warming, so we targeted to reduce the carbon dioxide emissions, है ना? So UNFCCC के अंदर तो major initiative वही था. So and so particularly under Kyoto Protocol, so we gave some fixed targets to be achieved by the different countries. In that context, this term came into usage, we can say. Okay, otherwise what is carbon credit? Carbon credit refers to the release of carbon dioxide beyond the limit given to any particular emitter. Okay, so any particular emitter, let's say it can be at any level, it can be at a individual level, or it can be at a industry, a particular entity, or it can be a state, or it can be a nation, or at the world level, overall. ठीक है, so वो जो लिमिट हम फिक्स करेंगे, मतलब कोई भी नेशनल गवर्नमेंट विल फिक्स इट और इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे क्योटो मैकेनिज्म जो फिक्स किया था ऐसे. So let's say we have an industry here. Okay, let's say we have an industry, let's say cement industry, and it releases carbon dioxide. Okay, so government has made it mandatory that in a year you have to release only 100 tons of carbon dioxide. Okay, so let's assume that you have to release only 100 tons of carbon dioxide. Okay, तो इनको क्या करना पड़ेगा? So they have to bring some better technology, emission standards, है ना? So अच्छे से जो fuel को burn करने वाला machineries लेके आना है, or they have to capture that carbon dioxide. They should not release, right? So let's say ऐसे बहुत सारा मेहनत करके they emitted in the entire year, they emitted only 90 tons of carbon dioxide. They were asked to limit 100 tons, है ना, तो आपको 100 टन्स तक ही एमिट करना है, उसके ऊपर नहीं जाना है. इन लोगों ने बहुत ज़्यादा मेहनत करनी है, 90 टन्स तक ही रिलीज़ किया. सो दे हैव द एडवांटेज, है ना. तो जो 10 टन्स बचाया था, दैट विल बी गिवन टू देम एज ए कार्बन क्रेडिट. कार्बन क्रेडिट. So you apply at the national level. So let's say India was given a overall target. You have to emit only, let's say, 1 lakh tons of carbon dioxide, and UK was given a target same, आपको भी 1 lakh ton of carbon dioxide. उन लोगों ने ज़्यादा emit कर दिया. Okay, 1,50,000 emit कर दिया. हमने total 50,000 ही emit किया, है ना. हमारे पास 50,000 credits है, right? That is the credit which we have. So हम बोलेंगे आपको दे देंगे, आप मुझे हमें पैसा दे दो, है ना. सिंपल से बात है. वही है कार्बन क्रेडिट. वी हैव द क्रेडिट, वी कैन सेल इट टू एनीवन. दैट मैकेनिज्म टू सेल इट इज व्हाट इज कॉल्ड एज कार्बन ट्रेडिंग. Okay, so UK released more, and they have the obligation. They said that we will release only 1 lakh ton. Okay, they had given the commitment, and now they had released more. To compensate that, they have to purchase these carbon credits from others who had released less. जिनके पास में क्रेडिट है उनसे लेना है, ठीक है. So that is what is carbon trading mechanism. So all this carbon credit and carbon trading mechanism took a formal shape under Kyoto Protocol. Under Kyoto Protocol, it took a formal shape. So what was the overall target of Kyoto Protocol? So there were certain group of countries for which the emission targets were fixed. Emission targets were fixed. What is the group's name? Annex 1 countries. Annex 1 countries के लिए there was fixed targets. Okay, so before we go here, let me just explain this. So ये Kyoto mechanism समझने के लिए चाहिए. So there are total of 4 types of countries in Kyoto. Okay, it was in Kyoto. So first, the members of OECD. Okay, the members of OECD is first type of country. Second, economies in transition, IET, a second type of country. A third type of country is developing country. A fourth type of country is LDC, that is least developed country. Okay, there are 4 types of countries. All these are members to Kyoto Protocol, let's say. Okay, let's take just one example. UK is OECD. Okay, these are all developed countries who have taken the advantage of industrial revolution much earlier, and they had grown without limiting their growth, without accounting, without thinking anything about the carbon emissions or emission reduction. ये कुछ भी नहीं था उनके लिए जब उनका growing stage था. All of these are OECD. OECD members. Okay, they are generally considered to be here. Economies in transition are those countries which are, even though they are part of the developed world, but still they are not as developed as these countries. For example, Eastern European countries, the members of former Soviet Union. Okay, जो सोवियत यूनियन के सराउंडिंग में था, इसमें इतना ज़्यादा एडवांस डेवलपमेंट नहीं हुआ था, even though they are also developed to better extent than developing countries. These are called as economies in transition. These are specifically the members of erstwhile Soviet Union only. Developing country तो पता है, for example India. Okay, so here we can take an example of let's say Ukraine. Okay, here it is, example is India. So LDC, let's say it is Nigeria. Okay. So for Kyoto, for the purpose of Kyoto, we don't group them under the same headings. Okay, this is for our understanding. For Kyoto purpose, these are grouped as Annex 1. Okay, so Annex 1 includes OECD plus economies in transition. This is what is called as Annex 1. So developing is non-Annex 1. Developing countries को बोलते हैं non-Annex 1 countries. LDCs are kept as it is, LDCs ही बोलते हैं उनको, LDCs. Okay, least developed countries. So now within Annex 1 there is a subgroup called as Annex 2. It is just OECD, which is Annex 2. So basically Annex 2 is part of Annex 1. Okay, it is subset of Annex 1. So is that clear? Okay. So now, so under the Kyoto, they agreed that they will cut down the emissions in a targeted manner. Okay, 5 years का target होगा, इतना cut down करना पड़ेगा. So these are the 6 gases which they targeted, right? So in that they gave fixed targets for all Annex 1 countries. Annex 1 is basically जिनके लिए fixed targets था, that included both OECD as well as economies in transition. But Annex 2, they were required to help economies in transition as well as developing countries. Okay, that is their responsibility. Annex 2 का responsibility था because during their time of growth they did not think about any of the emission reductions. Now they have grown to their maximum extent and they have better capacity and better money. So let them use it. Okay, they were asked to help these countries. इन लोगों ने बोला कि हम भी fixed target लेंगे, हमें थोड़ा सा मदद चाहिए. Okay, so these OECD said चलो हम मदद कर लेंगे. So developing countries बोला ठीक है हमारे लिए fixed target मत रखो, हम कोशिश करेंगे reduce करने के लिए. Okay, so please don't keep any fixed targets. Okay, we will try to reduce it, but you help us. So Annex 1 countries said, chalo we will help you also. So Annex 2 countries. Annex 2 countries are expected to help both economies in transition as well as developing countries. So for these Annex 1 countries for whom there were fixed targets, it was a bit difficult for many countries to achieve these fixed targets of emission reduction. So there comes the Kyoto mechanism. So what is a what are Kyoto mechanism? There are different mechanisms which we call as Kyoto mechanism. So one of the important Kyoto mechanism is joint implementation. Joint implementation. Joint implementation refers to a mechanism in which two Annex 1 countries can come together and implement a project and take the credits for both of them. Okay, so two Annex 1 countries will come together and it will implement a project for emission reduction, and whatever the emissions which they have reduced, they will take the credits, both of them, दोनों ले लेते हैं, depending upon how much they have invested. Okay, if they equally invested equal credits, or if they have invested according to more or less according to proportionately, they will take the credits. That mechanism is called as joint implementation. There also there is an idea of carbon credit, right? Because when you implement a project, you would have reduced some amount of emissions. They will count how much of reduction has happened, so we will take the credit for that. Okay, that reductions we will take it in our account. Okay, that is what is joint implementation mechanism. Then second one is Clean Development Mechanism, CDM. Clean Development Mechanism. So joint implementation का best example होगा वही UK और Ukraine का ले लो. So let's say for UK it is difficult to implement any of the project in their own land because it is too costly over there. They will come to Ukraine and together they will implement a project, and UK and Ukraine will share the credits for that. That is what is joint implementation among themselves. Clean development mechanism, when an Annex 1 country comes into non-Annex 1 country and there it implements a project and helps reduce the emissions over there. Okay, and it can take all the credits because developing countries, they don't have anyway no fixed targets. That is what is called as clean development mechanism. Basically Annex 1 countries are helping the developing countries in clean development, right? That is what is called as clean development mechanism. Why would they do it without any kind of returns? So इसलिए we are giving them carbon credits. Okay? So but here not every country will come and implement by themselves. Okay? Some of the countries are lazy to do that, so there is also carbon trading mechanism, which is also called as emission trading. है ना, क्योटो के अंदर जो ट्रेडिंग मैकेनिज्म था ना, that is also called as emission trading mechanism. Let's say India had already implemented a project, for example, Delhi Metro. Delhi Metro is considered to be totally electric, totally carbon dioxide free, है ना, there is no emissions. So India will say हमने इतना सारा इसके वजह से इतना सारा कम किया. Okay, मान लो यहाँ पर दिल्ली मेट्रो नहीं है, so many people would have used their private vehicles or any other manner, है ना, so and they would have released so amount of carbon dioxide. So using Delhi Metro, we have reduced this much of emissions. So now UK will just come and pay us money and take the credits. So what we are doing, we are trading the credits. That is what is emission trading mechanism. But ये अलग बात है कि like we will burn coal to produce electricity to run the Delhi metro, है ना? So ठीक है. So but that mechanism is there. That mechanism is called as emission trading mechanism. Emission trading is open for everyone. Yes, yes, among everyone. That is totally open. उनका कुछ बहुत सारा specified rules है. ये क्योटो के अंदर पूरा mentioned है. Okay, there are clearly mentioned rules how to measure them, how to quantify them. है ना, वो उनका काम है, हमारा काम नहीं है. Annex 1 countries. Yes. Anyone can come and implement. Yes. So that is what is Kyoto. Kyoto के अंदर था, Kyoto तो पूरा fail हो गया. We know that Kyoto was total failure. So then after that comes Paris Agreement. Paris Agreement. So is there any carbon trading mechanism in Paris Agreement? Yes. What is this? So there is some different mechanism is there. All of this comes under Article 6 of Paris Agreement. Okay, you have to remember this. This is under Article 6 of Paris Agreement, and this was finally settled in Glasgow only. Last year COP Glasgow में settle हुआ था Article 6. Okay, the Article 6 talks about different types of carbon trading mechanism. So here there are two types of carbon trading mechanism which is implemented under Paris. Okay, so you can see एक box है, box में दिया हुआ है. Okay, one is called as Internationally Transferred Mitigation Outcomes, ITMO. So are you able to see that? Internationally Transferred Mitigation Outcomes, ITMO. Second one is Sustainable Development Mechanism. Sustainable Development Mechanism. So Sustainable Development Mechanism is same as Clean Development Mechanism. जो पहले था वैसे वाला ही है. So now it has been made much more broader and there were some more different rules here. ठीक है. So first one जो Internationally Transferred Mitigation Outcomes is basically bilateral transfer of carbon credits. One country has more credits and it wants to transfer to the other countries, they can do so. That mechanism is called as the Internationally Transferred Mitigation Outcomes. So these two terms है ना, so direct question आ सकते हैं, बहुत डिटेल में नहीं जाएगा. Sustainable Development Mechanism is in the context of what? Okay, दो चीज़ें याद रखना है, एक है Paris Agreement, दूसरा है carbon trading mechanism, trading of emissions. Or internationally transferred mitigation outcomes also in the context of carbon trading only. Okay, but ये होगा bilaterally. उनका जो INDCs fulfill करने के लिए ऐसे ज़रूरी नहीं है कि they have to reduce it in their own land, because this is one of the better alternative. If you ask them to reduce in their own land, so उससे कोई भी फायदा नहीं है. It is too costlier, and it becomes costlier, and that may be one of the reason for many of them to not to implement it. Because what we need is overall reduction as a whole, global level में reduction होना चाहिए. कहाँ पर reduction हो जाए, क्या फर्क पड़ेगा, right? So that is why we have this. However, the rules and the exact mechanism for this is not finalized yet. Okay, इन दोनों का जो Sustainable Development Mechanism है ना and ITMO का, दोनों का exact mechanism of implementation is not finalized yet. अभी तक finalize नहीं हुआ है, तो उसके बारे में discussion चल ही रहा है. Not happening. There is also one of the most important topic of discussion is what about the Kyoto credits. Kyoto में इतने सारे collect किए थे बहुत सारे countries, उसको carry forward करना है नहीं करना है ना, इसके बारे में भी discussion हुआ था Glasgow में. It happened in Glasgow. So some of the major consensus was that, so they said we will use it for a short time period, okay, with a deadline, and before that they have to sell it off and use it off. Okay, so ऐसा कुछ discussion हुआ है, but it is not settled yet. It is not settled yet whether it will be carried forward to Paris and what is the mechanism for that. Yes, 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 we'll come there. Yes, double counting. So what is double counting? ये बहुत interesting है. See, this entire trading mechanism is very complex. Okay, it's not that easy to measure the carbon dioxide and give credits to this. And another thing is it has to be certified. Whatever the emission reduction which you are doing, it has to be certified. There was a mechanism under Kyoto for this certification. So that is what he called as the certified emission reduction. है ना, उसको बोलते थे certified emission reductions. So it used to happen that few of the countries which have the targets, the fixed targets, they used to reduce more. Okay, let's say there are two countries, Annex 1 countries. Okay, so let's say Ukraine has reduced the emissions beyond their target, and they had this carbon credit and they had registered overall जो हमने इतना reduce किया है, ये देख लो हमने और 10 extra भी reduce किया है, तो ठीक है उनको थोड़ा सा credit दे दिया. Second, UK had released more and they could not fulfill their targets. They came and took the credits from Ukraine. Okay, many times it happened that the credits were given to both Ukraine as well as UK. This should not happen, right? जो भी reduction हुआ है, if it is being transferred to the other country, it should be erased from this account. That was not happening in many of the cases. That is what is called as double counting. यूक्रेन के लिए यूक्रेन का बजट में भी आ गया, यूके वाला बजट में भी आ गया, ऐसे कैसे होगा? ओवरऑल तो फिर जो स्टेटस था वही रह गया, राइट? सो दैट शुड नॉट हैपन. उसके ऊपर भी बहुत डिस्कशंस चल रहे हैं. हाउ टू अवॉइड द डबल काउंटिंग, व्हाट इज द मैकेनिज्म, व्हाट इज द फुल प्रूफ मेथड. सो दैट इज येट टू. या ये तो मैं बहुत सिंपल तरीके से एक्सप्लेन किया इसलिए इजी लग रहा है, बट वो मैकेनिज्म बहुत मुश्किल है. The registry maintenance, the counting and the measurement methods. So वहाँ पर बहुत सारा loop holes था, उसको यूज़ करके double counting कर रहे थे. ठीक है? So these are the mechanism under Paris. Now why it is in news? The central government is considering the implementation of a carbon trading scheme at the national level. So subsuming all the mechanism. Okay, so I'll tell you what are the present mechanism. Okay, present mechanism कौन सा है वो बता दूंगा बाद में. So overall the present status is that there is no fixed targets for each and every industry as such, but the government is trying to bring that. Okay, the government is trying to bring that. It is trying to bring a national level carbon market mechanism, and initially it will be made voluntary for the units, for the entities, whoever is releasing the carbon dioxide. And on voluntary basis, it will encourage the entities to sell the extra credits in the market and make money out of it. And gradually, it is planning to bring the system of cap and trade mechanism. Cap and trade mechanism. Okay, now let me tell you what is cap and trade mechanism. So this is what is cap and trade mechanism. At the national level, we have given a commitment through INDCs. India has said we will reduce so and so amount of carbon dioxide, right? So that is divided into different smaller amounts. Okay, at the state level, at the district level, and in each of the state, how many industries are there, how many industries are releasing, ये पूरा assess करना है पहले, then only we can divide it. And we will limit each and every industrial unit, and we will give them fixed budget. Okay, so cement industry यहाँ पर है, तो उनके लिए होगा 10 tons of carbon dioxide. You cannot release more than this. Okay, here there is a iron steel industry. You have to release only this much, like this. Okay, in this example, you can see that there is entity emitter A, emitter B. So let's say that both of them have the same level of budget. Matlab you have to release only this much of carbon dioxide. Even you have to release only this much of carbon dioxide. You cannot exceed this. But this emitter B brought some more better technology, and he released much lesser than the given budget. So he has got this extra carbon credit. He could not limit here, and he emitted more. Okay, he has got more, and now he says emitter B can sell this extra credits to emitter A. Right? That is what is cap and trade. Okay, cap and trade mechanism. We have put the limit Okay, first you have to fix that, then only we will be able to assess that, right? So that we have put the cap on the overall emissions, and whoever is reducing less can trade that credits to whoever had emitted more. Okay, so it has 3 steps, you can see. First we have to set a cap, and second we have to issue permits based on the overall assessments, and then we have to allow the buying and selling so that overall emissions are limited. So this the government wants to bring gradually, the cap and trade mechanism. Then only we will be able to overall keep account of how much of carbon dioxide is releasing from how much and कहाँ पर ज़्यादा काम करना है. Okay, where we have to work more in order to reduce the carbon dioxide emissions, that we will get to know gradually. So however, presently there is no such rule. There is no such rule except few mechanism. There are 2 mechanisms under implementation. One is Perform Achieve Trade PAT scheme. Second one is Renewable Energy Certificates. Okay, REC. Okay, we'll discuss these 2. Presently to yahi 2 hai, and this is limited to only few of the entities, few of the industries only, and the government wants to make it open for everyone at the national level. Okay, if you make it open for at the national level, so all the industries jinke liye limit hai, they can trade, they can purchase, they can sell at the national level. That will be much more easier to so overall implement the entire obligations under Paris Agreement. Now yes, China in fact market be established कर दिया. No, not good protocol. It has established their own market at their national level. Okay, so this system which we are trying to implement, the cap and trade, they have implemented. But I don't think they have implemented everywhere. National level पे हर जगह में implement तो नहीं किया होगा. No country has done it yet. अभी तक तो नहीं किया. Okay, there are certain specifically targeted industries and sectors which they may have implemented. I'm not getting this. Excess emissions, उनके लिए extra tax लगना है. Then what makes them that they have to buy from the others? There is a government order. Government अगर order लेके आए, there would also be some rule. If at all you are not fulfilling, what would happen? There would be some penalties, or they may also restrict your overall production itself maybe. So whatever the government makes the rule. So that should be there, otherwise why would they buy? Right? There should be some penalty in different forms. Yes. So overall idea to yahi hai, to achieve that INDCs. So what is the presently existing mechanism? Presently there are 2 mechanisms. Okay, one is REC. Second one is PAT scheme. So REC is in the context of renewable energy producers. So in India we have many different producers who are producing energy at private sector, at community level, at even cooperative level. Okay, at state level, at national level, center sectors, बहुत लोग involved है जो renewable energy production में. So what are the major renewable energy forms? Solar energy and wind energy. इंडिया में अभी जो majorly चल रहा है solar energy and wind energy. Okay, you can also install, all of you can also install a small solar plant and you can sell the energy to the government. Okay, what is the scheme? Kusum scheme, PM Kusum scheme. So even without this also there are many generators of this renewable energy are there. So but who will purchase from you? Government means there should be some agents, right? Discoms, distribution companies. Okay, distribution companies will be purchasing it from you. So the government has made it compulsory for distribution companies to purchase a fixed proportion of their energy requirement. Okay, fixed proportion of energy requirement should be purchased from these renewable generators. जो generators है उनसे purchase करना इनको obligation है. So that is called as RPO. Okay, so that is renewable purchase obligations. So because at the end it is the DISCOMs only who are giving the electricity to us. Okay, consumers के लिए कौन electricity देते हैं? DISCOMs, not the generators. Generators, there are different generators from there, all of them. So if it is generated through normal traditional methods, all the electricity is given to power grid and the transmission network. So DISCOMs उनसे लेके distribute करेंगे. This is the process, right? So but these renewable energy sources who were producing renewable energy, so from there the DISCOMs have to directly purchase. But many of the times these DISCOMs, they are in a very haphazard functioning manner, है ना, उनका condition तो हमें पता है. Many of the times even in spite of giving these obligations, they will not purchase it. Okay, and second thing is there is the issue of storage for these renewable producers. They cannot store it for longer duration. Okay, so you are continuously producing. If this is not being sold, तो ये loss हो जाएगा, right? So in many of the cases it will be lost, and in many of the cases the government will say, so you please give it to us, I'll give you credit in return for that. Okay, whatever is lost or whatever it is taken by the government for all of this, that means the units which is not purchased by the DISCOMs, the renewable energy generator will get a credit. So what do we call it as? Renewable energy certificates. Okay, that is what is REC. So this certificate is given by the government. उसके लिए एक अलग से agency establish हुआ होगा, तो उन लोगों ने एक certificate देंगे. ठीक है, आपने जो energy produce किया था, that was renewable energy, and you have a credit for that. One REC is equal to 1 megawatt. Okay, megawatt hour. One REC is equal to 1 megawatt hour. So what we will do with this certificate? Yes. So खाली certificate रख के तो हम frame करके तो नहीं रख सकते हैं ना. We cannot just frame it. So we need money in return. That is when we will be able to produce again. So for that there is a trading mechanism. So for those DISCOMs who have not fulfilled their obligation, the government has made it compulsory. Okay, you have not purchased the electricity from these. At least you purchase these certificates. The equivalent amount of certificates you have to purchase. Okay, if you are not able to purchase this, you have to purchase the equivalent amount of certificates. उतना value होगा. ठीक है, so that is why there is a demand for this, all these REC. ठीक है, so and now government has made it open for everyone. It is not only these obligated entities, even anyone voluntarily can also purchase. Why would anyone voluntarily purchase this? So that they can keep it and sell it to these DISCOMs when the demand is high. You can also make money. Even the individuals are allowed. The companies are allowed. Okay, it is openly traded. RECs are openly traded. So where? In two exchange. One is Indian Energy Exchange, IEX. Second one is Power Exchange, India Limited. Okay. So Indian Energy Exchange, that is one. Second, Power Exchange India, two. Okay, these are the two exchanges where these certificates are traded. This is called as Renewable Energy Certificates and Renewable Purchase Obligation, RPO. So this is only working in the context of DISCOM. This is also a kind of carbon credit only, right? So it's a form of carbon credit, carbon trading ho gaya. So PAT scheme is brought by the government. So targeting a total of 13 sectors. Okay, so for a total of 13 sectors, government has brought this PAT scheme. So these are the sectors which are considered to be a very strong emitters, मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा emit करते हैं, तो उनको target करते हुए government has fixed a basically cap, उनका जो emissions को cap कर दिया है. Okay, only in these 13 sectors, and who releases more than this, so they will come under this. वही cap and trade mechanism था ना, उसी के अंदर आ जाएंगे. So among themselves in 13 industries, 13 sectors, they have made it obligation that whoever is reducing less, they will be given a certificate, and whoever is releasing more, whoever is releasing less, they will be given a certificate. Whoever is releasing more, they have to buy these certificates from them. So that is what is called as perform, achieve, trade. Okay, perform, reducing less, sorry, releasing less is achieving, and then you can trade. Okay, so that is what is PAT scheme. So even these certificates are also traded in the same energy exchange. दो energy exchange मैंने बताया था ना, वहाँ पर भी यही trade हो रहा है. And yeah, these are the only things which are currently under implementation in India. So what do we call these certificates as? Energy saving certificates. So yes, here what in under PAT scheme what they get is energy saving certificates. For that there is a separate certification agency, and that certificate is only for these 13 sectors for which there were limits. Okay, and there the certificates are called as renewable energy certificates, REC, and there are two types of certificates over there: solar, non-solar. Okay, and that is there is a different certificating agency, and that is from the renewable producers. See, post-COVID, it is not only crash in the carbon market, it's all these efforts towards the emission reduction, all these have got derailed. Okay, it has taken entirely back seat, all these initiatives. Because whatever the commitments which they had given, so all these commitments, nobody was, first of all, nobody was asking them whether did you fulfill this or not, because the people were dying. Okay, economy was collapsing. And second thing is, even the countries were not very enthusiastic to fulfill their obligations. Okay, their first priority is to save the lives and then revive the economy. Okay, so there were no demand for all these carbon credits at all. So no demand. No, post-COVID, the reason would be the COVID itself, right? So ये भी हो सकता है. So there may be generators who are generated for a long period of time and they were certified and released at a time. But there is no international trading mechanism. When you say China and India, inside China, inside India, there is no international trading mechanism here. For now, there was no time limit, and there were some amendments which they are trying to bring to fix a time limit for that. Okay, there were certain amendments in this new act, the existing act. So in that they are trying to bring some time limit. Yes. The energy production, renewable energy production can be done by anyone. It is not limited to only the companies or the big corporates. Anyone can do. Anyone can sell it to the government. If they are not purchasing, you will get the certificate, which you can sell it. It is open for everyone. In fact, much more better provisions are there under PM Kusum. Okay, PM Kusum scheme. So it gives you subsidy also for establishing these plants. So that is much cheaper to establish. So, but not many have this awareness. It's a very good scheme actually. So we have a query. Can you please explain who maintains carbon accounts? How do companies report to the government and then the government to UNFCCC? How is accountability ensured? So, so there are multiple things here. First one, so at the national level there is no common limiting of these emissions. Okay, only under certain targeted sectors they are trying to do this. They are trying to limit the emissions. Okay, so second, how the government is going to report to UNFCCC. So that is what is being discussed under Paris. Okay, you will constantly hear about the rule book. Okay, rule book is being discussed. Rule book is under discussion, agreed or finalized. So all this contains all these rules. Okay, so यही rules होगा. So कैसे measure करना है, कैसे report करना है. So there is a public registry now. ये पब्लिक रजिस्ट्री में आ गया कि कितना एमिशन रिडक्शन हुआ है एंड ऑन व्हाट बेसिस यू आर काउंटिंग दिस. ओके, सो and the method of counting is also based on IPCC. IPCC methodology report है ना. Okay, there are 3 types of reports: assessment report, special reports and methodology report. That methodology report में जो methodology दिया है उसको follow करके emission count करना है. इतना डिटेल में चाहिए नहीं यूपीएससी में. ठीक है, कौन मेंटेन करेंगे, क्या मेथड यूज़ करेंगे, सो डोंट वरी अबाउट दैट, बिकॉज पेरिस एग्रीमेंट के अंदर तो पूरा क्लैरिटी नहीं है. ओके, देयर इज नो क्लैरिटी येट. That is why we need a common market at the national level and proper rules. The government is trying to bring that. If we have to fulfill our INDC targets, we need such mechanism. We need a proper market, proper rules. The government wants to bring that. Right? So now, how it can bring? Based on what? Based on the recent bill passed in the parliament. Okay, this is not there in the material, just add this. Recently an amendment has been made in this Energy Conservation Act through Energy Conservation Amendment Bill 2022. Energy Conservation Amendment Bill 2022 is passed in the parliament. So in that amendment, the central government has been given the power to establish carbon markets. Carbon market and carbon trading scheme at the national level. Central government has been given the power to establish carbon market and carbon trading scheme at the national level. Energy Conservation Amendment Bill. Energy Conservation Amendment Bill. Carbon market and carbon trading scheme. Carbon trading scheme. But what exactly the mechanism, there is no mention of this. It is totally given to the central government. वही fix करना है and even now there is no clarity about that. No, this bill is passed. This is basically amendment bill of Energy Conservation Act, which was और पुराना एक्ट था, उसको अमेंड करके ये प्रोविजन लेके आए. No, वही है. So if the DISCOM is not purchasing, then only you will get the certificate. वो अलग है, वो इलेक्ट्रिसिटी रिलेटेड है. And that is the major problem है ना. So ग्रिड से कनेक्शन तो नहीं होता है, बहुत जगह में नहीं होता है. तो एक्स्ट्रा जो प्रोड्यूस करके यू हैव टू चैनलाइज टू द ओवरऑल डिस्कॉम का ही जो नेटवर्क है उसी में ही चैनलाइज करना है. ग्रिड कनेक्टिविटी हर जगह में नहीं है, जहाँ पर है वहाँ पर मिलेगा आपको, अदरवाइज तो नहीं उसका तो सर ये सारे चीज़ के लिए नहीं देंगे ना. यू हैव टू हैव सम कनेक्टिविटी, तभी वो फ़ायदा होगा. यस, चलो आगे बढ़ते, बहुत स्लो हो गया. यस, carbon offsetting, so same thing. So when in the Kyoto mechanism, so when a country is coming and claiming the credits from another country, for example through clean development mechanism, UK has come to India and it has taken the credit. So India's extra credits are offset in the name of UK. That is what is carbon offsetting. Okay, so these credits are used to fulfill their own obligation. उनका जो ऑब्लिगेशन था उसको फुलफिल करने के लिए ये क्रेडिट्स यूज कर लिया. दैट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ कार्बन ऑफसेटिंग. ठीक है, तो ये दो मेजर टॉपिक था. सो आगे जो है, सो देयर वर सम स्मॉल टॉपिक्स व्हिच आई स्किप्ड, वो पूरा कवर कर लेते हैं एक बार. ओके, दीज आर जस्ट स्मॉल न्यूज, सो आई जस्ट कीप टेलिंग, सो नोट डाउन करते जाओ. सो दीज आर मोस्टली इंफॉर्मेशन टाइप. हाँ, so while talking about the latest COP, I told you last appendix में दिया है. I'll tell you the important ones, just mark it. Okay, come to the appendix 1, page number 124. उनमें से obviously सारा तो याद नहीं रहेगा, अगर किसी को सारा याद हो गया तो अच्छी बात है. So there I'll give you some important ones and I'll give you the gist of it. Okay, just mark करते जाओ, एक बार सुनते जाओ बस. So there are various different initiatives taken. इसके ऊपर direct question आएगा तो direct question ही आएगा. Okay, so what is this? Whether India is part of it, what is the objective? Okay, whether it was launched in this COP or not. Of course, all of these are launched in this COP only. Okay, first important one, International Drought Resilience Alliance. International Drought Resilience Alliance, IDRA. Okay, by the name of it you can guess, it is an alliance to bring resilience in the context of drought, of course, right? So what is resilience? Resilience क्या होता है? The capacity to face, capacity to withstand, that is what is, we need adaptation, right? So you can see the aim to support the countries exposed to the continued threat of drought. So for that they need for that they need resources, technology, knowledge, innovation, ये सब चाहिए. So यही है basic aim. And who has started this? Spain and Senegal. Spain and Senegal along with few other country. It was first announced in the UN General Assembly by Spain, इसलिए Spain initiative लिया है and इसको यहाँ पर लेके आ गया है. India has not been part of it. Okay, India इसका part नहीं है, अभी नहीं है. इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि आगे नहीं जाएगा, अभी तो नहीं है बस. Okay, that is International Drought Resilience Alliance. Okay, remember Spain and Senegal and first started in 2022 UN General Assembly में उसको introduce किया था, अभी इसको लेके आ गए हैं. So next one is also important, Food and Agriculture for Sustainable Transformation Initiative, FAST initiative. Food and Agriculture for Sustainable Transformation Initiative. Food and Agriculture से आप याद रख सकते हो, it is by FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization. Okay, FAO is part of UN only, right? UN का ही agency है. Overall, this is in the context of agriculture and climate change. So because of climate change, agriculture is going to get impacted, and at the same time we have to bring some changes in order to ensure food security in the coming days, right? So that is to improving the quantity and quality of climate finance to transform agriculture and food systems by 2030. Okay, that is the overall objective. Improving the quantity and quality of climate finance to transform agriculture and food systems by 2030. ठीक है, this was also announced and finalized in the latest one. ये सारा अभी जो शर्म एल शेख COP में ही finalize हुआ है, announce हुआ है. So next important one, Global Shield Against Climate Risk. Global Shield Against Climate Risk, वो finance की part में second one. ये important है, Global Shield. Okay, in fact this can be your topic for mains also. मेंस का भी टॉपिक हो सकता है, जैसे वन सन वन वर्ल्ड वन ग्रिड वाला आया था ना, ये भी ऐसा ही है. सो बिकॉज द टॉपिक इज लाइक दैट. सो वहाँ पर टॉपिक था सोलर एनर्जी, हियर द टॉपिक इज द क्लाइमेट रिस्क एंड द क्लाइमेट इंश्योरेंस विच इज वेरी मच रिक्वायर्ड. Okay, so because of the climate change, the countries which they are facing the threat, they are going to face some of the loss. For that, the most important aspect is insurance. Okay, insurance चाहिए and some more investment is required in order to bring the capacity. Okay, increase the capacity for them. So overall objective to provide climate risk insurance and social protection schemes in developing countries. So here the shield they are referring to is the insurance shield. Okay, insurance and the protection schemes, and this is supported by World Bank. Supported by World Bank. उसके लिए एक फाइनेंसिंग फैसिलिटी भी लेके आ गया, दैट इज व्हाट इज ग्लोबल शील्ड फाइनेंसिंग फैसिलिटी. वही सेकंड पॉइंट में दिया है, मिल गया, ठीक है. सो हु हैज अनाउंस्ड दिस? G7 एंड V20. G7 तो पता है, G8 से रशिया को हटा दिया, G7 हो गया. G7 plus V20. V20 initially it was established as vulnerable 20, but now There are more countries. It is not just 20. Okay, these are basically the vulnerable countries which are going to face the threat of climate change. वो एक group बनाया था. That is what is V20. So it was established in 2015 at Peru. So presently there are 58 countries which are part of this V20. Okay, that is global shield against climate risk. Important one. You can put a star mark also next to it. So next, Mangrove Alliance for Climate. ये important है क्योंकि India member है, and Indian mangrove is also under deterioration, right? So overall idea है कि to spread awareness regarding the importance of mangroves in the context of climate change, because mangroves can be used to fight climate change, to fight global warming. कैसे? Carbon sequestration, then it will reduce the impact of all these disasters along the coastal region, cyclones, flood, storm surge, है ना, इसका impact को कम करता है, soil erosion, ये सब चीज़ें कम करता है. So that is why mangrove has a huge role to play in the coastal ecology. Okay, so that is the aim, Mangrove Alliance for Climate, and this is initiated by UAE and Indonesia, and India is a member here. FAU? FAU ने तो नहीं है इधर, है क्या? No, I guess. UAE and Indonesia, India is a member. ठीक है, एक और important one. Next one, Forest and Climate Leaders Partnership. Forest and Climate Leaders Partnership. ये इसलिए important है, ये ग्लासगो से continue हुआ है. There is something which has been continued as Glasgow. One of the important outcomes of Glasgow summit was the last COP26, in that many countries came forward and they formed a group and they said by 2030 we'll stop deforestation. Okay, by 2030 they wanted to completely stop deforestation, and they did not discuss how they are going to do this, and this is how they are going to do this. They have formed another alliance. Okay, and they are saying that हम इसको ऐसे थोड़ा सा और result oriented बना देंगे. So India तब भी मना कर दिया था, हम इसका part नहीं होंगे. So India has said that our immediate priorities are not this. So that grouping which is part of this earlier, है ना, जब commitment दिया था ना, उसी का ये जो extended बना के group बना दिया. So which is led by UK and European Union. So they're saying that they will mobilize the public and donor finance, and they want to support the indigenous peoples and local communities initiatives. In the same context, we have two important programs which are being run from the Kyoto time. Almost similar program. कौन सा है? Red and Red Plus. वो भी same ही था, है ना? So जो deforestation, to reduce deforestation and degradation. Okay, that is what is Red. Reducing emission from deforestation and forest degradation. That was supported by UN. Almost same mechanism. Whoever is contributing there, तो उनके लिए थोड़ा सा पैसा दे दो, तो उनके लिए अच्छा रहेगा, तो और करेंगे, ऐसे कुछ था, है ना? वो सब तो अभी now it has taken back seat. So next, African region में आ जाओ. Initiatives with focus on African region. First one, Africa Just and Affordable Energy Transition Initiative. जस्ट एंड अफोर्डेबल एनर्जी ट्रांजिशन इनिशिएटिव. जस्ट के नाम पे दो तीन है. ओके, सो इंडोनेशिया का एक जस्ट था, एंड यहाँ पर एक है, एंड एक और भी जस्ट है, दैट इज बियॉन्ड सीओपी, सीओपी के बाहर है, एंड दैट ऑल्सो टॉक्स अबाउट क्लीन एनर्जी ओनली. ठीक है, सो अफ्रीका के कंटेक्स्ट में जो जस्ट है, अफ्रीका जस्ट एंड अफोर्डेबल एनर्जी ट्रांजिशन इनिशिएटिव, द ओवरऑल एम इज टू प्रोवाइड ऑल अफ्रीकन विथ एक्सेस टू क्लीन एनर्जी. They want to provide all African with access to clean energy, and through that they want to drive the economic growth. Okay, so clean energy जो initiative है, it is not only about environmental, they also want to take it as a channel of economic growth to provide employment opportunity. And this is supported by International Energy Agency and International Renewable Energy Agency, IEA and IRENA. Who has launched this? Egypt has launched this, okay, under the leadership of Egypt. अफ्रीका में एक और important initiative था, African Carbon Markets Initiative, in the next page, okay, African Carbon Markets Initiative, ACMI. Overall, to support the growth of carbon credit production and create jobs in Africa. Okay, basically to set up a proper carbon market mechanism in Africa. That is what is African Carbon Markets Initiative. इसमें बहुत सारे लोग involved है. All of them are very important. One is Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet, GEAPP, Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet. So this is like an informal alliance, and this was started in the last COP. Last COP 26 में इसका शुरुआत हुआ था, GEAPP. And second one is Sustainable Energy for All, SE for All. This was started in the year 2011. It is partner agency to UN. It is not directly part of UN, but it works as a partner agency for UN. Sustainable Energy for All. And third, UN Economic Commission for Africa. These three are part of this, who are going to implement this. Okay, mobility and urban transformation में major मुझे कुछ नहीं लगा. So मतलब जो major decision लिया है, so you can just glance through that later. So come to climate mitigation and adaptation targets. So this is important because this is something which is continuing from Glasgow. First Movers Coalition Cement and Concrete Commitment. So this is basically initiated by First Movers Coalition only. Okay, the group who are implementing this is First Movers Coalition. So what is this First Mover Coalition? It was established in the last COP. COP 26 Glasgow में established हुआ था. So their overall idea is to decarbonize the heavy industries. To decarbonize the heavy industries, these heavy industries and जो multinational companies है, जो large scale corporations are there in these industry, they have the capacity to bring cleaner technology. They want to use their purchasing power to transform their overall energy requirement into cleaner forms. Okay, so उसके लिए ग्रुप बनाया था First Movers Coalition. Okay, so voluntary basis में so बोला कि आपके लिए कैपेसिटी है, आप कर सकते हो, करो. Okay, यही बात है. So among all the industries, among all the entities who are working in the entire मतलब entire जो economy है, तो इनमें से जो major players है, major industrial groups है, they have the better capacity to bring this cleaner development. छोटे मोटे लोगों को तो compulsion बाद में आएगा, अभी immediately force नहीं कर सकते, तो उनके लिए बोला कि थोड़ा सा encourage करके group बनाए हैं. India is also member of this First Movers Coalition. So in that coalition meeting happened here. Okay, so they have given some commitments in cement and concrete. Okay, so there in those sectors they are saying that at least 10% purchase will be okay. First movers pledge to purchase at least 10% near zero carbon cement and concrete by 2030. So next one, Lead IT. Lead IT. This is important because this was hosted by India along with Sweden. Full form is Leadership for Industry Transition Summit 2022. It happened along with COP 2027 के साथ में ही हुआ था. So overall idea is pursuing the low carbon transition of the industry, and this is supported by World Economic Forum. ठीक है. So after that come to the next page. So important one is action on water adaptation and resilience. It's called as AWARE. ये भी important है. AWARE. This is initiated by Egypt and World Meteorological Organization. Okay, WMO and Egypt का दोनों action on water adaptation and resilience. So basically to address the water scarcity and to decrease the losses worldwide and improve the water supply, and to bring a better cooperation among the different countries in the context of ensuring water security. Okay, overall in the context of water availability के context में ही. Action on water adaptation and resilience. AWARE. Next, Global Renewables Alliance. Global Renewables Alliance. So basically वही है, renewable energy को support करना है and उसमें ज़्यादा और R&D लेके आने, ज़्यादा usage करना है, यही objective है ना. So you can see that to position renewable energy as the pillar of sustainable development and economic growth and bring together all the technologies required for energy transition in order to ensure accelerated energy transition. ठीक है. So इसको कौन कौन implement कर रहे हैं सारा याद तो नहीं हो पाएगा, मतलब जो भी international level पे renewable energy related bodies है सारा इसमें हो सकता है. Okay, you can see International Geothermal Association, Global Wind Energy Council, Long Duration Energy Storage Council, Green Hydrogen Organization, International Hydropower Association, and then Global Solar Council 2. चलो एक लास्ट वाला, Executive Action for 2023-2027. Early warning for all action plan. So basically action plan, not an alliance or group as such. It's an action plan released by whom? World Meteorological Organization. So it basically talks about disaster risk reduction through early warning. What is early warning? To warn the people, to warn the community about the disaster which is going to happen. That is very important, so that we can reduce the losses, and through that we can reduce the overall disaster risk. Disaster risk को कम कर सकते हैं. Okay, so this was again discussed in the earlier Sendai framework. Sendai framework का कब से कहाँ तक है? कहाँ से कहाँ तक है? 2015 to 2030. Sendai framework, the present framework which is under implementation in the context of disaster risk reduction. Okay, so in addition to that, they want to bring major focus towards multi-hazard early warning system, and for that they want to mobilize $3.1 billion between 2023 to 2027. So basic idea is, what you have to remember for prelims, who has released this? WMO. And what is the idea? To establish this multi-hazard early warning system and to mobilize money for that. ठीक है, तो पहले इतना याद रखो. If any of you can remember these things, then you can go beyond that. Okay, so that is why we have given in appendix. So other than that, in the first section there are a few more short news. We'll just quickly cover that. Okay, come to page number 19. Other initiatives in news. So first one, Major Economies Forum on Energy and Climate and Energy, MEF, Major Economies Forum. Okay, whether you remember climate and energy, at least remember this Major Economies Forum. Okay, it is an initiative started by US president in 2009. So who was the president then? Barack Obama. So it was under initiative. This group, a forum was started. So what is the objective? To facilitate dialogue among the major emitting countries, both developing and developing to advance efforts against climate change. So for those who doesn't know, Barack Obama has been he has been a very good supporter of all these initiative. Okay, so he did very well to, in fact, to contribute towards all this emission reduction, and he himself is also has a personal interest in all the wildlife conservation. इनके ऊपर उनका एक documentary भी आया था recently. Okay, our national parks. So he himself has narrated this. Okay, so that was about him. So under his initiative, this forum was started. So basically, जो major emitters है, so they cover 80% of the total emission, and they also account for 80% of total GDP of the world. That means they have the capacity to reduce the emissions, and also they are the major emitters, right? तो उनको ऐसे grouping बनाया था. उनमें से India was also, of course, one of them. Okay. So other than that, China is there, the largest emitter. Of course, he should be there, and the European Union, UK, all these countries are there. उसी का ही part था. बस इतना काफ़ी है. रिसेंटली ऐसे मीटिंग हुआ था, सो मीटिंग में क्या डिस्कस हुआ है वो सब तो याद नहीं रहेगा, सो उसको रहने दो. बट यू हैव टू रिमेंबर दिस मेजर इकोनॉमिक्स फोरम. सो नेक्स्ट, वर्ल्ड ग्रीन इकोनॉमी समिट. वर्ल्ड ग्रीन इकोनॉमी समिट. व्हाट इज ग्रीन इकोनॉमी? Economy which is sustainable. See, green economy has two words. One is green, another economy. Economy talks about the growth, the money part. Green talks about the environment. So this term green economy was the major objective of Rio Plus 20 summit. Rio Plus 20 happened in 2012, 20 years after Rio summit. Rio के बाद में दोबारा Rio में ही हुआ था. So that was 2012. Rio Plus 20 का one of the major objective was green economy. वहीं से ये famous हुआ है green economy word. So World Green Economy Summit. So that recently was held in Dubai. Dubai में हुआ था. Overall, the focus on advancing global green economy and sustainability agenda. So of course India also participated here. ठीक है. After that, so the next one is Zero Emission Vehicle Transition Council. इसके नीचे देखो, Zero Emission Vehicle Transition Council. So basically they are talking about zero emission vehicles. What are zero emission vehicles? Electric vehicles basically. Okay, electric vehicles and other vehicles are hydrogen vehicles, hydrogen based, fuel based yoga. So that these are the ones which are called as the zero emission vehicles. So this grouping is basically formed to bring transition towards the zero emission vehicles, and this grouping was formed in 2020, and India is also a member to this. And this grouping met along with COP26, तब पार्टिसिपेट किया था. तो बस ऐसे ही न्यूज़ में है. So next, Global Climate Observing System, GCOS. So a recent plan was released, Global Climate Observing System Implementation Plan, GCOS Implementation Plan 2022. By whom? World Meteorological Organization. Okay, so basically, so in the context of the climatic conditions which are changing during the global warming, climate change, इस टाइम में जो चेंज हो रहा है ना, उसको ऑब्जर्व भी करना है, एनालाइज भी करना है, एंड कंटिन्यूसली हमें उसके हिसाब से रेडी भी रहना है. For that, the monitoring is very important part. For that, we have this system, and उसका एक plan लेके आया है. So no need to go in detail. So you just have to remember that it is part of this WMO, World Meteorological Organization का ही part है. So okay, let's come to the last part. Page number 24 पे आ जाओ. Other climate related news and concepts. So prelims के लिए ये सब बहुत important होगा. So, ऐसे लगता है कि कहीं पे सुना है ना, तो यही होता है जो माइनर टॉपिक्स उठा के क्वेश्चंस पूछते हैं ना. इन दैट फर्स्ट वन, फर्स्ट कार्बन न्यूट्रल पंचायत ऑफ इंडिया कहाँ पर है? पल्ली. वेयर इज पल्ली? जम्मू. यस, कार्बन न्यूट्रलिटी इज द सेम कॉन्सेप्ट है ना. तो इट डजंट मीन दैट एमिशन इज कंप्लीटली जीरो. इट मीन्स दैट देयर इज balance between the emission and capturing, right? That is what is India's first carbon neutral panchayat, that's Palli in Jammu. So अभी recently कुछ जगह में climate tipping points के ऊपर बात हुआ है. What is a climate tipping point? It is said that there are a total of 9 climate tipping points on the surface of Earth. So tipping point is something उसके आगे चला गया तो वापस नहीं आ सकते. That is what is tipping point. Right? If you go ahead, if you cross this, you cannot come back. It is irreversible. That is what is tipping point. So there are a total of 9 climate tipping points. So the disturbance in these systems will cause irreversible system in the climatic condition of the earth, and it will definitely result in some damage, some catastrophe for sure. That is what is climate tipping point. Recently in न्यूज़ में क्यों आया था? So we were able to observe a huge ice shelf breaking in a part of Antarctica. Antarctica एक पार्ट में ऐसा बहुत बड़ा सा ice shelf break होते हुए देखा है ना. So लास्ट क्लास में हमने एक सिमिलर कॉन्सेप्ट डिस्कस किया था. क्या था वो? Zombie ice. Yes, doomed ice or zombie ice. Good. So in that context, this tipping point, they are saying ये तो tipping point आ रहे, ऐसे बोल रहे. Okay, so there are a total of 9 climate tipping points. So first one, Amazon rainforest. So how this is related to the climate? So let's say if Amazon rainforest is totally lost, how it will cause the change in the climatic condition? Huge quantity of carbon which is stored is released into the atmosphere, right? Arctic sea ice, if it is lost in large scale, it will disturb the albedo. Right, it will bring an imbalance in the global atmospheric circulation as well as the oceanic circulation, है ना. Third one, Atlantic circulation itself. अगर Atlantic circulation weak हो गया, बाकी सारा circulation भी weak हो जाएगा, right? So that is what is AMOC, Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation. Okay, पूरा इसका जो thermohaline circulation भी है, surface वाला part भी circulation है, दोनों मिल के बोलते हैं Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation. So that is a tipping point here. Boreal forest is also another huge amount of carbon, because 1/3 of the natural vegetation on the surface of earth is in boreal forest only. Okay, 1/3 उसी में ही है. Coral reef, so large scale dying of coral reef, how it will impact the climate? It is impacted by ocean acidification. How coral reef support a very rich life. There is a huge life and huge amount of organisms, huge carbon and the organic matter, everything is stored over there, right? Okay. And Greenland ice sheet, again the same. Permafrost melting. What is permafrost? How do we define permafrost? How long? How long it should be minimum frozen? 2 years. 2 years. Okay, any land which is frozen continuously for 2 years, it is called as permafrost. So why permafrost will not support vegetation growth? Because the roots cannot penetrate, and even if it penetrates, it will freeze. Right? It will not be able to absorb the nutrients. It will not be able to support the vegetation. The thawing of permafrost, we use the word thawing. Thawing referring to melting. Thawing of permafrost releases huge quantity of carbon which is trapped in that region. उसके नीचे जो भी carbon है and even the fossil fuels, all of these are going to come out and that is going to be released into the atmosphere. Okay, so and then West Antarctic ice sheet and Wilkes Basin, that is East Antarctica. Okay, West Antarctica, East Antarctica, again related to the ice melting. Okay, so that can trigger large scale losses. These are all what we call it as the tipping points. Once we cross it, there is no coming back from there. Greenwashing, already asked in last year. Okay, prelims, what is greenwashing? Yes, so making a cover of the product green color, है ना, so that people will think this is eco-friendly. That is a simple example. लोग सोचते हैं eco-friendly है या organic है ना, so food items का cover में green color labeling लगा दो, so लोग सोचते हैं organic होगा, ठीक है. So all such mechanism, not only that, it includes various different forms. देखो, fibbing is basically making environmental claims that are simply false. False claims कौन जाके verify करेंगे? So just claim करो. No proof, making an environmental claim that cannot be substantiated. Hidden trade-off, suggesting a product is green based on single environmental attribute. So for example, जो हमारा electric vehicles. Okay, so we are saying that it is electric, but we are producing electricity through coal. Vagueness, being purposefully non-specific about the operations for or material. Less evil, applying a do goods label to an environmentally unfriendly product. ठीक है. Irrelevance, claiming to avoid using a material or practice that is already illegal and non-standard. Basically all these forms which you are trying to bring that idea that it is eco-friendly, okay, in all the different possible way, saying that this is it is good for environment, all such things are called as greenwashing. So what about Keeling curve? Have you heard of Keeling curve? So what is a Keeling curve? It shows the proportion of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Okay, so this is there is an observatory, Mauna Observatory. कहाँ पर है Mauna Observatory? Hawaii Island. Okay, on the island of Mauna Loa. What is Mauna Loa? Mauna Loa क्या है? It is a volcano. Which type of volcano? Active volcano, ठीक है. और it's a shield volcano. Shield volcano. And this is the largest volcano on the earth by area. By area, this is the largest. Okay, it covers a very wide area. This is the largest volcano on the earth, Mauna Loa. And it's a huge island. वहाँ पर तो eruption चलता ही रहता है, फिर काम भी चलता ही रहता है, लोग भी रहते हैं. कैसे? How is it possible? Yes, fissure eruption, the basaltic magma which is erupting, है ना, it is not very violent type. कुछ जगह होगा वहाँ से निकलते ही रहेगा continuously, ठीक है. So there we have an observatory because it is at the center of Pacific Ocean. Okay, with less disturbance we can observe the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Okay, we have been observing since last 50 years, 50, 60 years, and that observation is plotted in a curve which is called as the Keeling curve. And if you observe closely, this is not a straight line. In each year, the amount of carbon dioxide present varies. It increases and decreases. Within a year, decrease hoga, increase hoga. Okay, but however, every year the overall amount of carbon dioxide is gradually increasing. Since 1960, we have since when we are measuring, that is around 310. So right now we have crossed to 318. Okay, the present level of carbon dioxide is 318 ppm. Sorry, 418 ppm. Okay, so in the last 70 years itself, we have come to know about this. 60, 70 years. So what is the reason for this variation? Seasonal release of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere due to leaf shedding. We have huge forest area in the northern hemisphere. Okay, so the temperate regions, during the autumn it will shed all the leaves, पूरा खाली हो जाता है. So that is when we have higher amount of carbon dioxide. When it stores, it is taking the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So there is a low level over there. Okay? So that is accounted through this variation. This is what is called as the Keeling curve. ठीक है, तो इसके अलावा इंपॉर्टेंट रिपोर्ट्स एंड इंडेक्सेस इंपॉर्टेंट बता देता हूँ. देखो फर्स्ट वन, स्टेट ऑफ द ग्लोबल क्लाइमेट रिपोर्ट. देखो ग्लोबल लेवल पे क्लाइमेट रिपोर्ट कौन दे सकता है? WMO, सिंपल है ना. इट गिव्स द ओवरऑल असेसमेंट ऑफ द क्लाइमेट इंडिकेटर्स सच एज टेम्परेचर, ओशन हीट, ओशन acidification, and it also gives its own assessment, and it will try to complement the IPCC reports. World Meteorological Organization is a intergovernmental organization, 1948 and 1950. अच्छा 1950, ठीक है. So India is a member, of course. India is a member of this, and it is this WMO, the same WMO which has established this IPCC. IPCC के यही establish किया है. So next important one, Greenhouse Gas Bulletin 2022. This is annual bulletin, annual estimate of greenhouse gas, again released by WMO only. Okay, so it gives the estimate of 3 main greenhouse gases, that is carbon dioxide, methane and nitrous oxides. ठीक है. So next important one, nationally determined contribution synthesis report, NDC synthesis report 2022. So NDC क्या था? Paris agreement के अंदर जो commitments था, that is all NDC. So UNFCCC makes a summary of all the commitments made by the countries, and it gives this report. And the latest report says that the combined climate pledges will cause, which will be able to limit the global warming to 2.5 degrees Celsius, है ना. उसको 2 डिग्री या 1.5 डिग्री के लिए लेके आने के लिए और ज़्यादा प्लेज करना पड़ेगा. So next important one, come to the next page, climate change performance index 2023. हाँ ये बड़ा सा इंटरेस्टिंग है. So climate change performance index. So basically सब लोग बातें कर रहे हैं तो कौन काम कर रहे हैं वो चेक करने के लिए. So who is actually working properly as per their commitments, and whoever is going to fulfill the Paris Agreement commitment, उसको चेक करने के लिए we have this climate change performance index. Okay, so you should not be misled by the name of this report. It is not climate change performance. So it is the efforts to reduce the climate change and उसमें performance. Okay, so मतलब top rank वाला मतलब है they are doing very well. They are reducing the climate change. Their efforts are very well. ऐसे. This is released by whom? German Watch and Climate Action Network. Okay, ये दोनों important है. तीसरा हो सकता है तो याद रखो, but ये दोनों तो याद रखना ही है. German Watch is important. So it evaluates a total of 59 countries, European Union, and India is part of it, of course. जो मेजर कंट्रीज का ही एवेल्यूएट करते हैं. एंड इसका स्पेशलिटी है, सो लास्ट कंसेक्यूटिवली जब भी इसका रिपोर्ट आता है तो फर्स्ट 3 प्लेस तो खाली रहता है. इसका मतलब कोई भी ठीक से काम नहीं कर रहा है. ओके, द फर्स्ट 3 places आर ऑलवेज केप्ट एम्प्टी, एंड डेनमार्क इज एट 4th place, इंडिया इज एट 8th place. Global Stocktake is part of Paris Agreement itself. This is just the assessment report. Okay, so by a third party, not part of UNFCCC. Global World Heritage Glaciers Report. World Heritage से भी आप guess कर सकते हो, it should be UNESCO should be there, है ना? And IUCN is also there here. So there is a report which is recently released by UNESCO and IUCN that is saying that 1/3 of the glaciers will disappear by 2050. And उनमें से इंडिया में कुछ ग्लेशियर्स मार्क किया है, तो अभी के लिए याद रखो. So these are the places which you have to remember. Siachen Glacier, what is the speciality of Siachen Glacier? So around this region, the overall region को third pole बोलते हैं. Other than that, the highest battleground, ठीक है. And it is also the second largest glacier, non-polar glacier. Second largest non-polar glacier beyond, other than the North Pole and South Pole. So the overall the size of the glaciers में second largest है. The first largest is in Kyrgyzstan और Tajikistan. Kyrgyzstan it should be. ठीक है. छोटा शिगरी बड़ा शिगरी सुना होगा है ना, that's in Himachal. ठीक है. So that is near to the origin of Chenab river. हाँ, चिनाब के origin के पास में छोटा शिगरी. गंगोत्री चौकांबा गंगोत्री river का है. Comet, Nanda Devi, there are many other tributaries of Alaknanda originating from this region. Kanchenjunga, so there is also glacier. These are the important glaciers. ठीक है. So climate change वाला unit खत्म हो गया. So let's take a break, and after the break we'll start with the biodiversity unit. Okay, क्योंकि pollution वाला भी थोड़ा बहुत factual है, already बहुत factual देख किया. So let's try to cover this. ये fast होगा, biodiversity fast होगा. So then we'll come back to pollution unit. Yeah. So come to the third unit, biodiversity. So in that first one, COP15 to CBD. So it is full form is UNCBD, United Nations Convention for Biological Diversity. It is the result of Rio Earth Summit. It was agreed in the year 1992 itself. Okay. So basically this convention aims to conserve the biodiversity on the surface of Earth. Okay, there are three objectives: conservation of biodiversity, and then sustainable use, and then fair and equitable sharing of benefits. Right? First we have to conserve the biodiversity. Second, of course we cannot stop the usage of biodiversity. It is required for our survival on the surface of Earth. Right? We derive various different resources from the biodiversity. So we have to use them in a sustainable manner. That is the idea. And third one is, so whoever is conserving, they should get the benefits of this biodiversity. The tribals, the local people who are protecting the biodiversity, they should get the benefit of this biodiversity. So if somebody else is making use of it, so they should share the benefits with the local people. That is what is equitable sharing of benefits. It came into force in the year 1993. 1993, and the first COP happened in 1994. COP 1 to UNCBD, okay, that was 1994 itself. And so there was initially there was some थोड़ा बहुत डिले था. पहले एक साल किया, फिर उसके बाद में 2 साल में किया, थोड़ा बहुत गैप दिया. बट अभी जो हो रहा है रेगुलरली, इट इज हैपनिंग once in 2 years. The COP to CBD happens once in 2 years. The last COP was held in, कहाँ पर था? हाँ, लास्ट वन इज मॉन्ट्रियल एंड कुनमिंग. एंड उसके पहले अभी जो डिस्कस करने वाले वो तो मॉन्ट्रियल एंड कुनमिंग की है. उसके पहले कहाँ पर था? दैट वाज COP 14, okay, which was held in the year 2018. That also happened in Sharm el Sheikh. वो शर्म एल शेख में ही हुआ था. 2020 it was supposed to have happened in COP 15 in the year 2020 was supposed to have happened in Kunming, China. UNCBD का स्पेशलिटी पता है? USA is not a member. There are 194 members except USA. And there are two protocols under this UNCBD. कौन सा? Cartagena and Nagoya. Cartagena Protocol on biosafety. Okay, the threat of living modified organism, LMO. So that was 2000, year 2000. Nagoya Protocol. Yes, fair and equitable sharing of benefit. जो third objective है ना, उसके लिए एक protocol है. Okay, it is called as Nagoya Protocol on access and benefit sharing. ABS बोलते हैं. ठीक है, access and benefit sharing that was agreed in 2010. 2010 का है. Biosafety, Cartagena Protocol on biosafety, Nagoya Protocol on access and benefit sharing, ABS. 2000, Cartagena 2000. ठीक है, so ये सब background है. ठीक है, so the most important COP of all अभी तक जो हुआ है ना, among them the most important is Nagoya. The Nagoya COP was COP 10. Okay, it was COP 10. It was held in 2010. 2010 में हुआ था नगोया में. That resulted in Nagoya Protocol itself. Okay. Along with that, it also resulted in Aichi targets. Aichi targets are basically part of strategic plan for biodiversity between 2010 to 2020. When they met in Nagoya in the year 2010, they finalized a overall strategic plan of action to conserve the biodiversity, to use them in a sustainable manner, and to ensure the equitable sharing of benefits with the locals. इसके लिए एक plan बनाया था. And all this plan overall they made it as targets, and these targets are called as Aichi targets, which is part of this plan itself. Okay, there are a total of 20 targets. There are a total of 20 targets to be achieved in the year of 10. 10 years में achieve करना था. And ये तो पूरा failure हो गया. This is a total failure. Okay, nothing much achieved. In fact, और ज़्यादा damage भी हुआ in the last 10 years. ठीक है. So that was about to end. खत्म हो रहा था 2020 में. So in 2020 they had planned to meet in Kunming in China. So but so पूरा कहानी change हो गया चाइना के वजह से. So it was the COVID-19 situation which postponed the CBD, COP to CBD. So it was originally supposed to have held in 2020. So then they conducted first part in 2021, the two online. Okay, so online class जैसे तो ऑनलाइन मीटिंग करवाया, तो उसमें तो कुछ आउटकम नहीं आया था. दे सेड नेक्स्ट ईयर मिल लेते पक्का. तो पर नेक्स्ट ईयर तक तो सिचुएशन ऐसे ही था कुनमिंग में. चाइना वाज हैविंग स्टिल द इशू, उनका जो स्ट्रिक्ट कोविड पॉलिसी ये सब चीज़ें था ना. Then they shifted the location itself to Montreal. Okay, so finally the second part of this COP 15, the 15th COP, the second part was finally held in Montreal. Okay, so we have to study about the overall outcome of this Montreal only. So this is chaired by China क्योंकि वहाँ पर originally होना था. It is chaired by China and it is hosted by Canada. See the major objective was जो 10-year framework था, biodiversity framework था, so that had come to an end, and they were supposed to have agreed on a new framework for the next 10 years. So that was one of the major objective, and that was finalized here. Okay, so one of the most important outcome of this is global biodiversity framework. GBF was finalized. Global biodiversity framework was finalized. So there are two parts to it in this framework. The first part gives 4 goals to be achieved by the year 2050, and the second part gives how many targets? 23 targets to be achieved by the year 2030. Okay, so the final result of this COP15 is, the major outcome is Global Biodiversity Framework, which is also called as Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. There are two parts to it. So first, the 4 goals to be achieved by 2050. Second, 23 action-oriented targets to be achieved in the short run by 2030. So what are these 4 goals? So these are the 4 goals. गोल ए बी सी डी. तो याद रखना बहुत इजी है. जो 3 ऑब्जेक्टिव मैंने बताया था सीबीडी का कौन सा है? कंजर्वेशन, सस्टेनेबल यूज, फेयर एंड इक्विटेबल शेयरिंग ऑफ बेनिफिट्स. उसी के रिलेटेड ही है. देखो पहले वाला कंजर्वेशन में आ जाता है. halting human induced extinction of threatened species and reducing the rate of extinction of all species tenfold by 2050. There are 2 parts to it. One is they are talking about threatened species. Second, they are talking about all other species. So threatened species are, what are threatened species? They are threatened with extinction, मतलब खत्म हो जाएगा, है ना? These are threatened species. Vulnerable, endangered, critically endangered. There are 3 categories under threatened. So in that case we have to completely halt the human induced extinction. Human related कोई भी factors है उसको पूरा रोकना है. So बाकी सारा species में we have to reduce the rate of extinction by 10-fold. ठीक है? So other than threatened species में in any other case if there is any threat we have to reduce it by 10-fold. That was conservation related, right? Second, sustainable use objective था. देखो sustainable use and management of biodiversity to ensure that nature's contribution to people are valued, maintained and enhanced. मतलब थोड़ा बहुत general है. Sustainable use ही है basically. Third was fair sharing of the benefits from the utilization of genetic resources and digital sequencing information on genetic resources. ये एक चीज़ नया ऐड हुआ है, नया डिस्कशन हुआ है इस बार. Normally it was discussed only about the fair and equitable sharing of benefits, whatever the benefits which is arising out of biodiversity use, and in that one of the largest use is through genetic sequencing. What do you mean by genetic sequencing? Extraction of genetic material, right? Genetic material and using it to for human applications. For example, BT cotton. है ना? So we have extracted genetic material from another bacteria and we have introduced into the cotton and we have made it as a BT cotton. Okay, so and it has become resistant to particular type of pests. So like that we can use genetic sequencing for various applications and that has been for the first time included here. And उससे भी जो भी benefit आता है वो भी share करना है, because वो जो बैक्टीरिया हो गया, वायरस हो गया, जो भी फंगाई हो गया, जो भी माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिज्म है, so they are all the result of biodiversity and the biodiversity is protected by the local community, right? So they should get the benefits out of it. And the fourth जो extra लगता है, adequate means of implementing this GBF be accessible to all parties, particularly LDCs and small island developing states. Adequate means they are referring to the funding mechanism. Okay, particularly small countries हो गया and least developed countries हो गया. So for them we need to provide some funding mechanism facilities so that they will reduce है ना. तो इसका आगे बात करते हैं. So these are the four major goals to be achieved as part of this. So we'll talk about the 23 targets. So these are the overall 23 targets to be achieved. So of course you will not be able to remember. मतलब of course somebody would be there. कुछ लोग तो रहेंगे तो सारा 23 याद रखेंगे. ठीक है. But few of them important. You have to remember that. Let's try to mark that. 30 by 30 सुना है. So that is this. So overall targets are under three categories. देखो, reducing the threat, meeting the people needs through sustainable use, and implementing tools and solution for implementation and mainstreaming. देखो, in that second one, effective restoration of at least 30% of degraded ecosystem by 2030, and conservation and management of at least 30% of land and 30% of ocean by 2030. दोनों important है. This is commonly called as the 30 by 30. We need to protect at least 30% of the land and marine ecosystem by 2030. Protect means by converting it into protected areas, okay, through some laws or rules or regulation, we have to protect them. That is the meaning of this. फिर ये halt human induced extinction, reduce the rate of establishment of invasive species by 50% by 2030. ठीक है. सो और कौन सा है? reducing food waste by half. Okay, goal number 16. Phase out or reform harmful subsidies in a just way, reducing them by 500 billion by 2030. Mobilize 200 billion per year by 2030 from all sources. ये याद रखना easy है क्योंकि ग्रीन क्लाइमेट फंड का क्या था? $100 billion per year, है ना. तो यहाँ पर बोल रहे 200 billion dollar per year by 2030. ठीक है. So like this, a total of 23 targets to be achieved by 2030. CBD is binding. IC targets were also binding. Nothing happened. इसीलिए there are few changes this time. They have incorporated few of the things. So what was not there in IC was the finance mechanism. They are bringing a finance mechanism here. Okay, that is one important thing. So which is the major financing agency? GEF, Global Environment Facility. Right? So you can see the Global Environment Facility, it has requested Global Environment Facility to establish a special trust fund. Special trust fund in order to implement this global biodiversity framework. स्पेशल ट्रस्ट फंड मतलब वही है, ये जो टारगेट्स दिया है इसको फुलफिल करने के लिए पैसा चाहिए ना. तो ग्लोबल एनवायरनमेंट फैसिलिटी के को एक रिक्वेस्ट डाला है. They are saying please establish a separate fund for us. So because the Global Environment Facility is a mechanism which is overseeing the implementation of this CBD. Overall CBD उसी के अंदर आता है. Not only CBD, even UNFCCC as well as UNCCD. All the three major conventions come under it. And not only that, it has also asked to set a clear indicators to measure. ये सब चीज़ें उसमें नहीं था, IC में नहीं था. So they just gave the targets and it said fulfill करो, तो कोई भी fulfill नहीं किया. So it is asking to set clear indicators to measure the progress, and that it wants to do through a mechanism called as NBSAPS. Okay, try to remember this full form, it is important. National Biodiversity Strategies and Action Plans. National Biodiversity Strategies and Action Plan, NBSAPS. जैसे वहाँ पर INDCs है, in the same way. So basically, to fulfill all these targets, every country has to keep some targets at the national level and devise some programs, एंड उसको पूरा प्लान बना के हमें सबमिट करना है. फॉर एग्जांपल मतलब ये जो टारगेट्स इंडिया में फुलफिल करने के लिए क्या क्या करना है, सो इंडिया हैज़ टू मेक ए प्रॉपर प्रोग्राम एंड प्लानिंग, एंड दैट विल बिकम दिस NBS APs, नेशनल बायोडाइवर्सिटी स्ट्रेटजीज एंड एक्शन प्लान्स, एंड दे हैव टू सबमिट नेक्स्ट ईयर. नेक्स्ट ईयर COP कब होने वाले, मतलब नेक्स्ट COP 2024, दैट इज COP 16, okay, to be held in Turkey. So major तो यही है, these are the major outcomes. हाँ, इसमें 30/30 थोड़ा फेमस था क्योंकि that was not something new. 30/30 target, that is to conserve 30% of land and marine ecosystem by 2030. That was first initiated in the year 2019. 2019 में इनिशिएट किया था, तब से लोग पुश करते आए, तो फाइनली इट हैज़ बीन मेड पार्ट ऑफ दिस GBF, एंड टू इम्प्लीमेंट दैट देयर इज ऑल्सो ए कोalition called as High Ambition Coalition. Yes, there is a coalition to support the implementation of 30/30 target. India is also part of this coalition. India is part of this coalition. Okay, so next one, World Restoration Flagships. Any doubts here? Okay. So World Restoration Flagships. First, UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration. Okay, that is 2021 to 2030. This decade has been declared as UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration. So what are they referring to? Ecosystem restoration का मतलब क्या है? The ecosystem which has lost its value, overall it is in a degrading condition, we have to bring it back to the normal condition. That is what is restoration, right? So so UN has declared this entire decade for that particular objective, that is UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration 2021-2030. So UNEP will be the leading agency. UNEP will be the leading agency. In addition to that, Food and Agriculture Organization is also going to be part of it. Overall ecosystem restore करना है, so that includes of course the large area of forest ecosystem, degraded forest है ना, ये सब restore करना है. That is the main objective of it. Then World Restoration Flagship. So as a part of this UN Decade for Restoration, right, UN Decade for Ecosystem Restoration, so these two agencies, UNEP and FAO, so they are going to identify, they have already identified, पहले plan था, so okay, they had planned to identify a total of 10 in the initial times, okay, पहले 10 ऐसे जगह को identify करना था, they want to identify them and implement the work of restoration, and they want to set examples through this. So that is why they are called as the flagship restorations. Okay, so they use certain criteria for that. Okay, you can see clearly identifiable geographically part of nominated area already under successful, measurable, well documented restoration, well defined ecological, cultural, socio-economic objectives and goals. याद रखने का जरूरी नहीं है, just बता रहा हूँ, ठीक है. So ऐसा कुछ criteria रखे, they have selected few of the locations, and they want to set an example and set a framework how exactly the restoration should be done. It is totally backed by UN, and the implementing agency I already told you, UNEP and FAO. ठीक है. And the restoration work will be monitored through a proper framework which is called as the framework for ecosystem restoration monitoring, है ना? So through that flagship schemes, sorry, the flagship locations where this restoration has been done, they wanted to set an example. So these 10 locations were announced in the present COP. इस COP में वो 10 लोकेशन को अनाउंस किया था, एंड इंडिया का एक लोकेशन उसमें है. कौन सा? गंगा रिवर. ओके, so 10 location, it is important not only for the CBD, ऐसे इसका पार्ट है, रिस्टोरेशन का फ्लैगशिप प्रोग्राम के पार्ट है, ऐसा नहीं है, अदरवाइज भी इसके ऊपर डायरेक्ट लोकेशन वाला क्वेश्चन आ सकता है. ठीक है. द फर्स्ट वन, ट्राई नेशनल अटलांटिक फॉरेस्ट पैक्ट. Okay, let me just show you the locations so that you can remember. Where is this Atlantic forest? Is there an Atlantic forest? Yes, there is Atlantic forest. South America, Atlantic coast. Along the three nations coast, we have this Atlantic forest. Okay, this is the region of Atlantic forest. Okay, towards the southeastern part of Brazil, this area, right? So we have part of this Uruguay, and Argentina. Okay, this is part of this entire region. This is what is called as Atlantic forest. Okay, one of the rich and diverse ecosystem you would find them. So there is a initiative which is already going on to save these forests. 3 countries, that is important. Okay, so question will be on this. Argentina, Paraguay, not Uruguay. Uruguay niche hai. Okay, Paraguay is landlocked. Yes. Argentina, Paraguay and Brazil. Okay, there they have planned to restore 15 million hectares of degraded forest by 2050. So with that objective, they had this program or pact, Tri-National Atlantic Forest Pact. Now it is part of this World Restoration Flagship. Second, Abu Dhabi Marine Restoration. Abu Dhabi कहाँ पर है? UAE. Right, this region UAE. So this is one of the richest coral reefs. The entire Persian Gulf and Red Sea, they are very well known for coral reef. यहाँ पर जो coral reef restoration project चल रहा है, that is what is Abu Dhabi Marine Restoration. It's inside the country of UAE, and the overall objective is to restore coral, mangrove and seagrass. Seagrass क्या होता है? It's a grass found on the floor, seabed near to the coastal region along the continental shelf. ठीक है? To restore that, and seagrass के ऊपर जो major dependent animal कौन सा है? Sea cow, dugong. It's called as dugong. ठीक है? So that was the second project. And Great Green Wall Initiative, वो तो पता है ना? Africa, Sahel region. So you can see that this is clearly visible even in the satellite imagery. This is Sahara, so totally dry and sand and dry desert, and this is totally rainforest Congo. उनके बीच में transition zone आ जाता है. There is a grassland, and then gradually becomes semi-arid region. That semi-arid region, which is the boundary between the Sahara and the grasslands, is what is called as Sahel. What do we call the grasslands as? Savanna. Okay, so this between Savanna and Sahara, there is Sahel. In this Sahel region, they are planning to have a continuous wall of vegetation extending all the way from east to west. Okay, once it is complete, it will become the longest living structure on the surface of Earth. So which is the present longest living structure? The Great Barrier Reef. Okay, that is the longest living structure right now. It will be longer than that once it is completed. So this program is going to support that also. And इसका country is important है. कि लास्ट ईयर भी न्यूज़ में था, अभी इसके अंदर भी आ गया है, सो इम्पॉर्टेंट है, सो कोशिश करते हैं बाद में याद रखने के लिए. सो फोर्थ वन नमामि गंगे, जिसके बारे में पता है. सो गंगा रिजेनरेशन प्रोग्राम एंड इट इज सपोर्टेड बाय वर्ल्ड बैंक अंडर इम्प्लीमेंटेशन एंड ऑल्सो अंडर जापान. जापान का भी सपोर्ट से चल रहा है. So next one, multi-country mountain flagship. There are different countries are involved here. Okay, DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, Kyrgyzstan, Rwanda, Serbia, Uganda. Okay, Serbia कहाँ पर है? यूरोप, हाँ यूरोप, ठीक है. सो नियर टू एड्रियाटिक सी, द कोस्ट ऑफ एड्रियाटिक सी, यहाँ पर है सर्बिया. Okay, so they are basically targeting the mountain ecosystem and particularly some of the important species which are affected by this the degradation which is happening in the mountainous region, right? So that is mountain gorillas and snow leopards. They are targeting to save them. So this is also will be part of this, and the program is already being coordinated by UNEP. So next, small island developing states. So 3 small islands, Vanuatu, Comoros and Saint Lucia. So they are in Pacific. So they are trying to restore the sensitive ecosystem and and strengthen the efforts to fight climate change. So next, Atlin Dala Conservation Initiative, Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan तो पता है ना, Central Asian steppe grassland. Okay, they are also under the impact of this climate change and global warming, जिसकी वजह से they are becoming much drier and many of the lakes are getting dried over there, right? So overall that is under impact, तो उसको revive करने के लिए there is this program. And Central American Dry Corridor, Central American Corridor, okay, कोस्टा रिका, एल साल्वाडोर, ग्वाटेमाला, होंडुरास, निकारागुआ, पनामा, है ना, ऊपर से नीचे पूरा आ गया. कुछ बचा है इसमें? कौन सा नहीं है? बेलीज, हाँ बेलीज नहीं है. गुड. टोटल ऑफ 7 countries. So here it is 6. Central American Dry Corridor. So they are trying to restore nearly 3 lakh hectares of drought region of Central America. So that is also part of it. Next, building with nature in Indonesia to regenerate the mangroves and protect Indonesia's coastal regions against flooding. Okay, this is under implementation with the help of Wetland International. Wetland International is also a partnering agency of Ramsar. Ramsar का partner agency है Wetland International. Then Shanshui initiative in China to restore 10 million hectares of ecosystem across China. ठीक है. सो मतलब ऑलरेडी चल रहे, काम चल रहे, उसको रिकॉग्नाइज करके और थोड़ा सा फंडिंग देंगे, है ना. सो दे विल ऑल्सो गिव सम टेक्निकल गाइडेंस एंड दे विल ऑल्सो बी मॉनिटर्ड. सो लेट्स होप आवर गंगा विल ऑल्सो बी रिजुविनेटेड एटलीस्ट दिस टाइम. So next, restoration barometer report 2022. Even this was also released in the same COP में ही release हुआ था. इसका एक chronology है, पहले chronology समझो. सबसे पहले था, so the first event is Bonn Challenge. Okay. Okay. So Bonn Challenge was launched in the year 2011. Okay. 2011 में लॉन्च हुआ था. व्हाट वाज बॉर्न चैलेंज? टू रिस्टोर डिग्रेडेड फॉरेस्ट, ओके, डिग्रेडेड वेजिटेशन. द ओवरऑल टारगेट इज रिस्टोरेशन ऑफ 150 million hectares by 2020. दैट वाज एक्सटेंडेड टू 350 million hectares by 2030. ठीक है. सो दिस इज कॉल्ड एज बॉर्न चैलेंज. This is implemented by whom? Germany and IUCN. So many countries are part of this initiative. Overall, they want to restore this much amount of degraded forest area. Okay. This was Bonn challenge. It was under implementation. So they wanted to see how exactly we have to measure this restoration हो रहा है कैसे हो रहा है ये पता करने के लिए एक Bonn challenge barometer लेके आए. Okay, they brought a barometer in the name Bonn challenge barometer. That was in the year 2016. This is also called as the restoration barometer. So it has various indicators. Based on these indicators, it will check the work of restoration which is being done in many of the countries, and many countries use this barometer to overall assess the level of restoration. So now in the year 2022, in this COP, they came out with a report which is called as the restoration barometer report. Okay. First came the Bonn challenge. For that they released the report. Sorry, they released the barometer, and now they came with the report on this barometer. That was released. Okay, this is the first report, first such report. So this is released by whom? So पहले से यही है IUCN है ना. So पहले से involved है. So IUCN released this. And this restoration barometer is not only being used to assess the Bonn challenge, it is also being used for assessment of various other activities. Okay, पहले तो Bonn challenge है ही, and 30/30 जो अभी recently शुरू हो गया, Paris agreement also, land degradation neutrality target. What is this LDN target? UNCCD. Okay, UN Convention to combat desertification. So that tries to achieve the land degradation neutrality by 2030. That is a status where the amount of the degraded land which is happening, at the same time we are conserving more amount of land. There is a neutrality over there. And 1 trillion trees ऐसा एक और इनिशिएटिव है, तो उसका भी पूरा असेसमेंट यही कर रहा है. उसके ऊपर एक रिपोर्ट लेके आए, बस यही बात है. Okay, exact finding of the report, ये सब चीज़ें एक बार go through कर लेना. So it says that financial investment of $26 billion have been mobilized till now. 14 million hectares of degraded landscape has been restored. ऐसा कुछ है. So the question is not going to be about that. So question is about what is the part of it, किसके अंदर लेके आया है, जो अभी हम chronology देखा है ना, वही है. Updated red list of threatened species. So first of all, what is this red list? Red list क्या होता है? It is part of which organization? IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature, IUCN. So overall, these are the categories which IUCN red list classifies any species into. कोई भी species, wild species, IUCN red list puts them under these categories. So that is what is the very famous IUCN status. IUCN status बोलते हैं. So all the IUCN categories are of two types. One is दोज विच आर असेस्ड, जिसका असेसमेंट हुआ है, जिसका असेसमेंट नहीं हुआ है, व्हाट वी कॉल इट एज not evaluated. Okay, so that is the major category. The first division is evaluated and not evaluated. There are many species which are not evaluated. We don't know many of them. So what is the overall number of species which are living on the surface of Earth? I'm not talking about the population, different types of species. Don't worry, nobody knows. So we have no idea how many different species are there on the surface of Earth. Okay? So based on the rough estimate, it is expected to be between 15 to 30 million, 15 to 30 lakh species. 15 to 30 lakh species, yes. Okay, so and it is also assessed that this assessment is just 10%. है ना, तो clearly किसी को भी पता नहीं है. What is the overall estimated? 1.5 lakhs. मतलब हमने सैम्पल किया है, we have noted it down. So those which we don't know is much more. So it is said that 15 to 30 lakhs तक हो सकता है, possible है. So among these estimated, IUCN पूरा classify करता है, जिसका estimate हुआ है उसी का ही classification देगा. So जो estimate नहीं हुआ है, that will be put under not evaluated. That is what is not evaluated. And those which are evaluated, there again brings two categories. One, there enough data is available, we have found the data. Another, data is deficient. Okay, so overall, if you want me to put any species, one is evaluated, second one is non-evaluated. So evaluated में हो, पहले डेटा डेफिशिएंट, जो जिसका डेटा नहीं ठीक से नहीं मिला है, एंड डेटा इज सफिशिएंट, डेटा इज देयर. ओके, देयर इज सफिशिएंट डेटा. सो देन कम्स ऑल ऑफ दिस. ओके, इन दोज विच आर वेयर वी हैव सफिशिएंट डेटा, वी हैव दीज कैटेगरीज. ओके, यहां पर एक और है. हाँ, ठीक है. So in those where there is sufficient data, we have total of 7 categories. Starting from least concern, we have sufficient data to prove that it is least concern, that is only least concern. Okay, we don't say least concern to data deficient or not evaluated. Okay, so starting from least concern and then near threatened. Okay, near threatened is they have come near to the threatened group. So threatened group, there are 3: vulnerable, endangered, critically endangered based on their status. ओके, सो क्रिटिकली इंडेंजर्ड जैसे जितना इस तरफ आते रहोगे उतना मतलब उसका सिचुएशन खराब होते जाएगा. वल्नरेबल, एंडेंजर्ड, क्रिटिकली इंडेंजर्ड. वंस यू क्रॉस दीज 3 टुगेदर, इट इज व्हाट इज कॉल्ड एज थ्रेटेंड स्पीशीज. वंस यू क्रॉस दिस, हियर वी हैव एक्सटिंक्ट इन वाइल्ड एंड देन एक्सटिंक्ट, मतलब टोटली एक्सटिंक्ट है. एक्सटिंक्ट इन वाइल्ड मतलब देयर मे बी 1 or 2 numbers left in zoo or any other breeding centers or anywhere. Okay, but it is not totally present in wild. Wild में totally absent है. Threatened, it is present in the wild, their numbers have drastically decreased, that is what is threatened. In that the lowest status is vulnerable, the highest status is critically endangered. They use a specific character, specific criteria. Okay, please go through that criteria. At least for these 3 you have to remember the criteria. Okay, 3 criteria used. One is how many numbers are left, what is the probability of their extinction in the next coming years, 10 years, 20 years. Okay, so and how many total how many numbers are left and what is the probability of extinction, how much of decrease has happened in the last few years. 3 criteria use करते हैं. Okay, just go through that. So these 3 together it is called as threatened species. Remember, so UPSC में statement में ये directly आता है. This is a threatened species. That means it can be vulnerable, it can be endangered, or it can be critically endangered. Or they directly ask it is endangered. Okay, endangered or critically endangered. Example of critically endangered: Asiatic cheetah. Asiatic cheetah is critically endangered. ठीक है. Endangered: tiger, lion, elephant, endangered. Vulnerable: snow leopard. Okay, all leopards in India are vulnerable. Normal leopard, snow leopard, clouded leopard, all 3 leopards are vulnerable. Okay, there are many other species, I am just giving example. So in the latest COP, IUCN has updated this. Every year it updates the list. Okay, so you have to, if at all, if you are referring to the wildlife from any of the source before prelims, just check their latest data. It is status, very very important. Every year it gets updated. Okay, few of the species which have got updated in the recent time as per the latest assessment of IUCN, which was released in the COP 15. The first one is dugong. ड्यूगोंग के बारे में ऑलरेडी 2 बार क्वेश्चन आ चुका है. यूपीएससी हैज आस्क्ड ट्वाइस. So dugong is also called as sea cow. Okay, this is what is dugong. It is a mammal and it lives along the continental shelf, and this is the area. Okay. Okay, this is what is dugong. It is also called as sea cow. And the region in which it is found is actually Indian Ocean and the surrounding region, the entire northern Indian Ocean, starting from the coast of Africa. Okay, African coast से लेके this entire part actually, यहाँ से लेके वहाँ तक पूरा along the continental shelf. ठीक है. And it mainly feeds on sea grass. Okay, so one of the very few species which are totally herbivore. मरीन स्पीशीज में हर्बीवोर बहुत कम रहते हैं, है ना. एंड इट इज ऑल्सो द स्टेट एनिमल ऑफ अंडमान निकोबार. अंडमान निकोबार का स्टेट एनिमल है. इट लिव्स अलॉन्ग द शैलो वाटर्स कॉन्टिनेंटल शेल्फ एंड इट कम्स टू द सरफेस फॉर ब्रीथिंग. इट लिव्स इन ग्रुप एंड इन इंडिया इट इज अवेलेबल इन अलॉन्ग द कोस्टल वेस्टर्न कोस्ट. ओके, गल्फ ऑफ कच्छ, गल्फ ऑफ मन्नार, पाक बे एंड अंडमान निकोबार ऑफ कोर्स स्टेट एनिमल तो है. And Tamil Nadu has recently announced the first conservation reserve for dugong in Park Bay. Fine. So its present status, India mein it is vulnerable. Remember, it is vulnerable in India. In East Africa, it has been recently upgraded to critically endangered. And in New Caledonia, it has been upgraded to endangered. इंडिया का ही याद रखो, वो काफ़ी है. क्वेश्चन तो उसी के ऊपर आएगा मेजरली. 2 बार आ चुका है एनीवे. सो नेक्स्ट, पिलर कोरल. दिस इज पिलर लाइक. You see pillar like corals. These are majorly found in Caribbean Sea. Okay, around Caribbean Sea it is found, and its status has been recently upgraded to critically endangered. So because of large scale bleaching as well as there is some disease called as stony coral tissue loss disease. So most of the coral bleaching, we know the coral bleaching that is happening due to the global warming, ocean acidification, so all of these issues. And next, a group of shellfish species. It's called as abalone. Okay, these are abalones, shellfish. So there are large number of groups. You just have to know the name. सारा डिटेल में याद रखने का ज़रूरी नहीं है. So they are basically IUCN major, and many of them are threatened. Okay, some of them are vulnerable, some of them are critically endangered, and most of them are threatened. And white-cheeked dancing frog कहाँ पर मिलता है? Western Ghats. White-cheeked dancing frog. It has a very, very narrow range. This is what is dancing frog. So majorly during the monsoon, okay, it's very rare. बहुत लोग इसको ढूंढ के बहुत जगह में जाते हैं. In fact, one of the few recent documentaries have shown these. Okay, so one of the recent documentary was Wild Karnataka. So 2 साल पहले आया था. So वहाँ पर इसका proper document किया है. So it's basically it's a way of mating dance. Okay, it will stretch its leg, and on a rock it will come. It will stand on this rock and it will stretch its leg. Okay, that is what it's called as the white-cheeked dancing frog. You can see the white is called as a white cheek, and its status is endangered. Endangered. Okay, it is very narrow. It is found in Western Ghats of India. The range is very narrow. Next one, Andaman smooth hound shark. अंडमान स्मूथ हाउंड शार्क, बहुत छोटा सा है या मीडियम साइज का होगा. सो इट इज़ फाउंड नियर टू अंडमान निकोबार and its status has been recently upgraded to vulnerable. Their numbers are decreasing. And yellow Himalayan fritillary. This is yellow Himalayan fritillary. It's a wild plant grown in Himalayas, and they are usually harvested. They are usually taken for medicinal use for various different purposes. And because of their uncontrolled over harvesting method, so their status has been recently upgraded to vulnerable. Region specific. Region specific, yes. No, it is not harmful. It's not their status. Overall status is how many numbers are there. Whether yes. For whatever the reason, if their numbers are decreasing, their overall level and the status is decreasing, then it will be included here. It is not about harmful. It is about those species whose numbers are decreasing. That is what we call it as their habitat is threatened or their existence is threatened. Dugong. As per the new amendment. Okay, so we'll discuss this. ठीक है, चलो let's continue the next class. नहीं, वो अलग कॉन्सेप्ट है, इन्वेजिव एलियन स्पीशीज. ठीक है, so we'll continue the same topic tomorrow. We'll try to finish it off. So please revise whatever we have discussed. थोड़ा बहुत factual चीज़ें बात किया है. So if you don't revise, you will not be able to recollect. याद नहीं रहेगा. ठीक है, and if possible, please try to read this entire section once. Give a rough glance for tomorrow. We'll try to finish this section, biodiversity, and we'll also start with pollution. ठीक है, thank you.